We are in July, and that means it's time for episode 29 of the Unlockable podcast. We hope you're ready and on the edge of your seats for part 2 of making sense of genres. Last episode, we covered platformers, RPGs, fighting, adventure, racing, and puzzle games, which means this time we're covering literally everything else. From shoot 'em ups to beat 'em ups and everything in between. One thing I want to mention real quick, we have been getting a lot less comments on these podcasts, and we would love to hear from you guys, so please don't be shy. Drop a comment with whatever is on your mind. And the last thing, give us a good rating on whatever app you're listening to this, and let's get started. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. It's episode 29. My name's Christian, and joining me is the amazing Game Girl Advance SP herself.
That's me.
What's going on, pal?
I would like to say I've been playing a whole lot of games, but I really haven't. Technically, and I know it's summer, I'm still not off from school. It ends this Sunday, so hopefully that coincides perfectly with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 releasing, actually. Honestly, I'm just sitting here with bated breath waiting for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to come out. That's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting here staring at the wall, just waiting for Friday.
You're gonna be busy when it comes out. You're going to freaking Alaska.
I'm going to Alaska. Luckily for me, though, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the airport, because it's going to take us 12 hours to get there. So that's going to be a lot of playing time.
One corner of the country to the other. So you, forgot what I was going to say. You've sent me so many Snapchats of freaking RuneScape, so I don't want you to lie to the audience. I just want them to know what's really happening.
Well, you made me feel so bad about my addiction, but yeah, unfortunately, I got addicted to RuneScape again. I just said it was for research, for the genre podcast about RPGs, but I can't stop now. I really cannot stop. So I'm going to go from one RPG that literally does not end to another one that says it's going to be around 130 hours to complete. Can you believe that?
Yeah, one that doesn't end to one that barely ends.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could just keep playing it over and over and over again.
I fully expect that to happen. But you got the special edition. You're ready. You are freaking excited, I bet.
I am very excited. One thing that really sucks, though, is I obviously live in an apartment, but I'm at my parents' house right now, and I had it sent to my apartment. So I'm going to have to go out to Walmart, I guess, and buy myself another copy. Because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to try to change it to deliver here instead of there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it took me so long to frickin' get it, and I finally got one. So I'm just going to, I guess go out and get another copy. And then sell it back to GameStop. That's
a good call, because you absolutely could have, good call not changing it.
I know, but still, gotta pay another $65.
I feel like this always happens to you. You're either at one spot and send it to the other, or vice versa.
I know, I can never get it right. You think I'd be able to do it by now, but I haven't mastered that skill yet.
Are you gonna do some game hunting in Alaska?
Well, if they have game stores, but
I know. Do they even have video games up there?
I don't think so. It's part of North America, but I feel like it's not. I know it's attached, but it just feels like it's its own thing,
Please write us in. Have you ever seen an actual video game in Alaska?
Yeah. I don't know. Do they even get video games up there? I mean,
are they just all frozen over?
Yeah, you know what? They just might not want to climb over the mountains and through the final frontier to get their games.
All right. That's enough of the Alaska nonsense. What have you been buying, Hannah? Anything at all?
Nope, absolutely not. This is your topic today. What have you been buying?
Hannah, I bought box protectors today. I don't like buying box protectors. It was $50 that was like, we'll say 65 box protectors across a few different consoles. I can't stand buying box protectors, but it is something that I feel like I have to do. And, not happy about it.
Well, you gotta protect what you have. So I get it. But I also don't like buying them. Even though I know I have, like, collector's editions that I should be protecting. But I'm like, God, it's like... like the Zelda one that I got, the Masters Collection, that protector was like $25. Because
Wow.
it's so massive.
I was looking at console box protectors today, and they're easily $20, $22 each, and I can't do that. I mean, I could, but I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah, no, I get you. I get it.
So I don't know how long it's going to be before I protect my console boxes, but could be never.
Well, to me, unless you're getting like a special edition console, which I know you have several of, for me, it's not worth it. Because my Switch box is a dime a dozen, you know? There's millions of them out there.
That's true. I bought, just last night, after my eBay stream, I bought Castlevania Portrait of Ruin on the Nintendo DS. So I actually went to Classic Game Fest this past weekend. Forgot to mention that. But one of the games I was looking for was literally any of the Castlevania DS games. And I passed on an $80 copy of this game. And I'm glad that I did, because last night I got it on eBay for $50, which was underpriced.
Nice.
So I'm very happy about that.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, I did go to Classic Game Fest, so I did have a bunch of pickups that I'm not going to go through. I did make a whole video for it, so feel free to check that out. But a few other things. Resident Evil 4 Special Edition, I got that in the mail like a week ago. It's like one of the only steelbooks on the GameCube, maybe the only steelbook, I'm not sure. Yeah, it was like before steelbooks became like mainstream, and it's actually like a large tin, but it's pretty cool. It comes with some extra goodies.
I had no idea GameCube even had steelbooks. I didn't even know they were around then.
Yeah, I think they were. It was a GameStop exclusive, this one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It looks nice.
Sweet.
And I bought some Xbox One games for some reason. I got Scarlet Nexus. Just love that game so much that I felt like it needed to be on the shelf, you know. I'm sure you felt that way before.
Absolutely.
I got Halo Wars 2. I just feel like I need all the Halo games. I got a new Rayman game for the Xbox One, Rayman Origins. I think from here on out, though, I'm going to try to focus on GameCube for the rest of the year. We'll see. There's not a lot of stuff I'm looking for at the moment, like outside of GameCube, so I think I'm just going to focus on the sets. I haven't been buying too much for the set lately, so see if I can shave off a few more from the checklist.
You're not buying that much for the set, to me is like, oh my god. I've seen you post about it on Instagram. It seems like you have a new GameCube game like every other day. You're crazy.
Yeah. What have you been playing? You said nothing?
Besides my RuneScape addiction, but we'll just pass on from that. Nothing happened.
Let's talk about something. We definitely played a little Monster Hunter Rise, but I guess
yeah, we did.
I finished the game finally after months of just being tortured about it by you. It felt like years. About how you still haven't finished that game. Every time you said that to me, it hurt a little more.
Well, good. You finally finished it.
I finished the game with you on the phone, and it was... I think we can agree that we're not Monster Hunter people.
It's so weird because when it first came out, I was addicted to it, right? Like I had to play it. I had to be super, super good at it. And then I took a break for a long time, and then coming back to it, I was like, what? I don't even like this game. Why am I playing it? It was so frustrating. It's so hard to jump back into. I was done. I didn't want to pick it up ever again.
Very happy that I got to experience the game. I'm glad that you bought it for both of us so we could play it together. It was, definitely like a good experience to have under the belt, but I'm not going to be buying any future Monster Hunter games, probably.
Yeah, I don't think it's for me. But we'll see. Monster Hunter Stories, though, I did say that. That one looks really good. That one has cool story elements.
I might be down for that.
That one looks fun. I might try that one. But in terms of regular old Monster Hunter, I don't think I don't think it's for me.
Honestly, if you've never played Monster Hunter, to me, it's like you just go and you go to the same, 5-10 maps or whatever, and you go kill the same 5 or 10 monsters over and over again, and it's the same thing every time. And you spend an hour fighting one giant dude, mashing the same 2 buttons. I don't think there's a lot of strategy involved. I don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah, I would agree with your assumption. It really, I mean, not to say that there's not a lot of variety in like the monsters. Like, I'm sure if you really get into it, there's a whole bunch. Like, this one is electric type, or like this one has this attributes. Like, I get that, but like it's still the same thing over and over. It's like Pokemon. Pokemon gets very, repetitive as well. So if you like that kind of gameplay, though, it's for you, and it's also better with friends.
Yeah, definitely way better with friends. And I'll also add that I did not play past the credits. So I've been told several times by my friends that this game has way more after the credits, and it's weird how early the credits came. So I will say that.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah. Other stuff I've been playing, I beat Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge, the new one that everyone's been hyped about. I gotta be honest, it's gorgeous. It's just so easy. There's no challenge at all. And it's not like me saying, "Oh, I'm some kind of amazing gamer." It's me saying that like it's very difficult to lose or to do poorly in this game. Not a lot of reason to get better and try out different moves. I would say it is a decent game. It is a good party game. I could not imagine playing it by myself. It was just a decent game for me.
So you're saying is someone like me who's not good at them, I could pick it up and play it?
Well, we played Simpsons at the arcade, you and I, and it's similar in that regard because when you play on a free-to-play arcade game, you have no threat of losing. And it gets kind of boring because of that. Like, if you're not putting in a quarter, like using your own money, there's no threat. All you do is press continue, and you can just play until the game's over. And while you do have lives in this Ninja Turtles game, they're so hard to lose that it feels like you're on a free-to-play arcade machine. And I'm just not a fan of that. But
gotcha.
Seems like everyone else in the world adores it.
Well, maybe not everyone is as hardcore as you are.
Hardcore. Whatever the heck that means, Hannah. Last thing I want to mention, Psychonauts. I talked about the second game a few months ago and how much I really enjoyed it. So I'm playing the first game now. Came out on Xbox and PS2. The game is like 05, I think, and it's so freaking good. Like, it's a little clunky, but other than that, the game holds up so freaking well. Like, when you think of other, like, when you think of other 3D platformers from the 2005 era, like SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom was like one of those really beloved games. There was, I don't know, like non-Mario, non-Crash Bandicoot stuff, like the lesser tier stuff. I feel like Psychonauts was not a first-party game, and it definitely plays like one. Like, it is so good. The storytelling is great. The themes are so unique, and the voice acting is great. I think Psychonauts is a really freaking good series that everybody who likes platforming should definitely check out.
Sweet.
And that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about for the Been Playing. Take us into some news since I've been talking for a few minutes.
All right. So, first thing is one of my favorite games of all time. I don't think we talked about this last time, but Pokemon Puzzle League is now available to Nintendo Switch Online. Expansion pack payers.
Expansion pack.
Subscribers. Yeah, so I have a lot of Nintendo 64 games, obviously, and I have this one on the Nintendo 64, a physical cartridge. But this is the only game that I was super excited for, that I actually went out and paid $50 for a yearly subscription. And I've been playing the heck out of it. This is another one of those games I was playing. So, I lied. I've been playing this one.
Nice.
I love this game. It's super fun. It has absolutely nothing to do with Pokemon. They could have put literally any skin on top, but I don't. It's just so nostalgic. Because as soon as you boot up the game, it has like a animation sequence where Ash is like Jay chilling at a pool, and Professor Oak is like, "Hey, you've been invited to this, puzzle league," and Ash is like, "Hell yeah, let's go." But it actually looks like the cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, so that's super fun. And it's just a basic puzzle game. But I love it. I played the heck out of it. And spoiler alert, if you beat very hard, or if you beat hard mode on like the one person stadium, you unlock very hard mode. And very hard mode is very hard. It's incredibly difficult. But you get unlimited lives, so it's so fun. You should play it. I played it with my friend the other day. She didn't get it. She tried, but she was like, let's just play Puyo Puyo.
The FOMO is real, man. Twitter has definitely been hyping that game up, and I wish I was playing it.
It's so fun! You should definitely play it. Just, bite the bullet, spend the $50, and then we can play it together. It's online.
What's next?
Okay. So Xenoblade Chronicles, like I said, comes out this Friday as of recording, the 29th. But for whatever reason, their copies have leaked, and people are selling them already on Mercari. Like, actual physical copies in hand. I don't know how they got them. Walmart probably was just like, yeah, we'll sell it now. And they're selling for, like, $120, $150. Because it's right now before release date. And then also you can play it on the Steam Deck because the whole thing is leaked online.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting. And spoilers are literally everywhere. I tried to look up, like, where they leaked from. Like, where the, like, physical copies were being released. So, I could get my hands on an early copy. And it just wanted to give me spoilers right off the gate. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So, I went to Walmart. They didn't have them. But, only 2 more days.
Is the main character of that game, like, one of the other main characters? Or is it a new guy?
No. As far as I can tell, they're all new people.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't even say it. The main characters are new people. But we shall see, because 1 and 2 are very much connected. I'm curious to see how 3's connected, if at all. But it's definitely going to be. Anyway, I don't want to spoil anything. So, Bayonetta 3 has finally gotten a release date of October 28th of this year. And for whatever reason, also, Bayonetta 1 is finally getting a physical release in the US. Which, it's weird that it only came here digitally, bundled in with Bayonetta 2. Which is how I played it. But now it's getting a physical release.
Well, it came out on PS3 and 360 before that.
Well, yeah, I know that. But it also, like,
oh, you're just talking about Switch?
Yeah, just for Switch.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
And it came out in Japan. Pretty sure it came out in the UK. Literally everywhere else, physical, except for here. But it's finally getting a physical here in the US for the Switch. And Bayonetta 3 is also getting a Naive Angel mode, which is supposed to make it a little more, like, living room TV friendly. Because if you've played a Bayonetta game, there can be some points, and she's, like, scantily dressed, which is fine. But, if I was playing it on the TV and my parents walked in, I'd be like, oh my god. This is so embarrassing. So
that's funny, I didn't hear about that.
Yep. That's probably how I would play it if I was playing it on the TV or someone's looking over my shoulder. And then the next thing, Nintendo buys an animation studio called Dynamo Studios and renames it Nintendo Pictures.
I did see that.
Dynamo Studios has previously worked on Pikmin animations that were on the 3DS and also done anime like Yuri on Ice and other shows like Persona 5 and Nintendo's Metroid Other M. So, does that mean that Nintendo's other IPs like Zelda or Mario or Xenoblade Chronicles is going to get some kind of animation or an anime or just a TV show like Castlevania got on Netflix? Could we be getting that now?
I'm on board for a Zelda anime whenever they're ready.
Dude, me too. It doesn't even have to be good. Well, I want it to be good, but it doesn't have to be good, It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Just give me an animated Zelda game. Anime, that'd be sweet. And then, our next thing, Nintendo announces a new Splatoon 3 OLED Switch, which looks absolutely gorgeous. Have you seen it?
Oh my gosh, I love that thing so much.
So it's the OLED model, and the dock is white and gray, like kind of got the graffiti-esque style of like Splatoon, like the real cool, unique art style. It's got a splash of neon paint on it, and then the Joy-Cons are neon green and yellow on one side, on the right side, I think, and the left side is like a purpley blue design that kind of like is ombre and kind of like blends into each other. It looks really good.
That's probably the
Like,
nicest Switch to date. I love it.
agreed, definitely. It is beautiful. And then next I just have partner showcase. So you want to do yours and then we'll do this one together?
All right, I have Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak came out. I think that was after the 28th episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about it a little? Or I think we're good?
No, we're good.
We're all Monster Huntered out, long story short.
We're good.
I am very excited about the Sega Genesis Mini 2 coming to North America. I have historically not bought any mini consoles. I was gifted the Neo Geo Mini recently. Freaking love it. But the Genesis Mini 2 is coming to North America. It's going to have Genesis games and Sega CD games. I'm going to pick this thing up. I think it's going to be a low print run type of situation, but I'm picking it up because Sega CD has a buttload of expensive games that I've always wanted to play on it. And if they bring Popful Mail, an RPG that I've always wanted to play, then I will cry tears of joy. I think it's going to be a pretty sweet gig, but we'll see. They haven't announced all the games for it yet.
Why is it called 2? Is there a 1?
Yeah, there was a Genesis Mini.
Oh, really?
We did a whole episode on mini consoles.
Oh, well, clearly I don't care about Sega stuff.
I think that was only our second episode, though. So that was a long time ago.
That was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's coming. And then God of War Ragnarok got a release date for November 9th. I will not be picking it up because I haven't played the first one. I also don't own a PS5. But one day, in like 2025, I'll probably be playing that game and talking about how great it is on the podcast.
Well, we'll be waiting for it.
Mario Strikers got a freaking update. I have not played a lot since the last episode, but definitely excited to try out Shy Guy and Daisy with this new update. Everyone on Twitter is going crazy for Shy Guy's like goal animation. I'm sure you've seen it, but he just kind of like stands there like contemplating life after he scores. It's pretty hilarious.
Nice.
And then Daisy fans freaked out about Daisy, and there's also a new stadium and new gear. Lord of the Rings Gollum has been delayed a few months with no set release date. They literally said it'll be out a few months later.
They said it'll be out when it comes out.
It looks interesting. If it's going to be a stealth game, I honestly don't think I have the patience for that subgenre, but we'll see. It looks okay. We'll see. And the last thing, TMNT The Cowabunga Collection is releasing on August 30th. It's 13 games for just $40. Probably the best deal in the history of gaming. I don't know. Yeah. Looks pretty sweet.
All right. So, Nintendo had not a direct mini, not a, what is it called? Nindy showcase or whatever. It's a partner showcase. So, notoriously, those have been awful in the past. People are like, this is stupid. We don't care about this. Just give us a Nintendo Direct. But this one is actually pretty good. Did you watch it?
No.
Oh. Well, anyway, it was pretty good. There was a bunch of things announced or just shown off or, given release dates for, but I'm just going to say the stuff that I actually care about. So Live Alive or Live Alive, whatever you want to say, is out now. That one did get a physical release. I'm thinking it's going to be a low print one, but I could absolutely be wrong.
My friends got that game and are talking about how good it is. You're not interested?
Oh, God, I am.
Oh,
definitely.
okay.
But I've just been buying so many things recently because I think it's going to be low print. I'm like, I have to stop. Because usually they're not. And then next, this is a debated title, is Nier Automata, or as I say, Automata, because that just rolls off the tongue better for me. But that's coming to the Switch. And it's getting its own version called Nier Automata, the End of Yorha Edition. So I guess it's going to come with all the DLC, Nintendo exclusive costumes, and it's going to come out October 6th. That one I'm hecka excited for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, I got that one pre-ordered. Because this is, I don't know if you know this, but the Drakengard series, I've talked about that before.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a prequel to the Drakengard series, I believe. So it's kind of set in the same universe, but obviously I haven't played to figure it out. But I love Drakengard 3 is like one of my absolute favorite games on the PlayStation. Or PlayStation 3. I love that game.
Well, that's pretty
awesome. It was like one of the first gory games that I'd ever played. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before.
We've definitely talked about it.
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is coming on October 20th. Not my kind of game, but I do own the first one because it was like $5 to buy. So who's going to pass on that? And then a really cool game that I haven't really heard that many people talk about, but I was like, this game looks awesome. It's called RPG Time: The Legend of Right, which is like it's an RPG, but you play it through like the pages of a book. So it's kind of like each level is like a page, but you're kind of like moving through the pages of a book, which I thought looked really freaking cool. But it seems just kind of like a tiny indie game. Comes out on August 18th, so not that far away. And then another game, which has so many spin-offs it's just hard to keep track, is the Dragon Quest series. Came out with a spin-off called Dragon Quest Treasures. You're following two siblings as they hunt down treasure in, I guess, a new land or one that we've already visited. I'm not really sure. And that one comes December 9th of 2022. That looks interesting. It just kind of looks like instead of like fighting monsters or like trying to beat a big bad, it kind of just looks like you're looking for treasure, but it's also got RPG elements. I don't know. Not that many details have been released about it yet.
Nice. And
then last but not least, the closer of the partner showcase was Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 3 Portable are all coming to the Switch. 4 and 3, I don't think have release dates yet, but 5 is coming out October 21st of 2022. So how exciting. Atlas finally did it. And it's Royal. It's not even the first Persona 5. It's the Royal edition.
Very excited for that.
I am very excited for that. I've been waiting for the game for a very long time. We got Strikers, now we have the original, so woohoo! And that's it.
Well, that's all we got for the intro and the news and everything in between. I think we're going to get started here, Hannah.
All right, let's go. Jump right in.
All right, so last time we talked about... Well, hang on. What are we talking about today? We're diving into more genres. So episode 28 was all about genres. We talked about, platformers, RPGs, fighting games, adventure games, racing games, puzzle games. So yeah, there's a whole 2 hours plus on that, and you can go check that out. But if you're ready, we're diving into even more genres today. I think it's more quantity-wise, but probably the same amount content-wise because, I don't know, RPGs, adventure, those are some huge topics right there that cover a lot of ground.
Yep.
But yeah, shooters is up first. Is there anything you would like to mention before we get started?
No, I think we're good.
Let's freaking do it. Shooters. I don't believe Shmups should be in the same category as a person running around with a gun, but my co-host here insisted that these are the same genre. So, Shmups and people running around with gun are under the same umbrella here that we're calling shooters. You like how I threw you under the bus there?
Yeah, jeez, what the heck, man? I mean, yeah, I still agree with what I said, but yeah, I mean, if the main mechanic is you pew 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 shooting a gun, I don't think it matters if you're running or sliding or flying or whatever.
So let's start with shmups, aka shoot 'em ups. The definition I came up with for this, typically a player is controlling a spaceship and shoots enemies in a horizontally or vertically scrolling map. However, I have seen games where you simply play as a human or a dragon, for instance, flying around So that's kind of why I said typically. Historically, the old shmups back in the day were like Galaga and Space Invaders. They took place on one screen, and you were just trying to get a high score. They've obviously evolved quite a bit since then to what we know today. This genre is known for being very difficult. I can attest to that. Terms like bullet hell are often used to describe the most insane titles in the genre. I feel like anything like blank hell is gonna describe just how tough a freaking genre is, and I've never heard that on another genre.
Adventure of Hell.
A few examples everybody knows or has heard of. Oh my gosh, I need some water.
Hey, it's hot in Texas.
Gradius, R-Type, Raiden, Thunder Force, Ikaruga, and Radiant Silvergun, to name a few. I'm so sorry, y'all. Oh my gosh. Alright. I think I'm ready. Alright. Might have to edit that or not. Don't care. Anyways, personal. I love these games. I'm not great at them. Like I said, they are pretty freaking hard. I think they're fun for 20 minutes. You can have a blast even if you're trash. And you can... They're just tough to master. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dying to figure out how to be good at these games. I've played Ikaruga. That game is really freaking cool. If you're not familiar, Ikaruga is known for like... having two types of bullets coming at you. You've got light and dark, and you can switch between like the light like mode and dark mode, so your ship can take the dark bullets coming at you if you switch to dark mode, and vice versa with the light stuff. So that adds like an extra tier of difficulty and uniqueness. Cine Mora is another one I've played, specifically like the EX version that came out. I'm sure it's just like DLC or something. I played Gunbird 2 on the Switch. That one's pretty fun. And then also Prehistoric Isle is like an old SNK game. Yeah, that's my personal experience. Is there any that you have? Have you ever worked on, have you ever played through some shmups?
I think you brought up a really great point. Or like, I think they're good for like 20 minutes. That is also my experience with them. Except there was this one game. It's not a console game. It's a PC game that's like on Miniclip or like Addicting Games or whatever in like the 2000s. And it was like you were a giant cat robot. And
wow.
like, yeah, like you have to dodge the bullets, of course, in typical shmup fashion. But you also like there was food that you could eat. And like the more food you ate, the fatter you got. And you could unleash like this, special, like, just, spit stuff all over, like a giant laser beam all over the place and kill everything. And I loved that game. I used to play it, like, literally every day. Me and my friend would go home. She used to live in the neighborhood, and we used to play all the time. It was just so fun, because it's a giant cute cat, and everything was, like, cute and, like, neon and, like, really cutesy. Other than that, I think I've probably tried a bunch, and I'm just like, nah, this isn't for me. I do love me some Space Invaders, though. That is a classic.
That sounds like the most 2000s thing I've ever heard right there. Like, honestly, cats and neons.
It was so fun. But yeah, that was my very limited experience.
Yeah, I think they are just 20 minutes and done, honestly. So like I've also been playing I just played through the new remake of Pocky and Rocky, and that one's a little weird because you're not in a spaceship and you are running around on foot, but I do think that would be considered a shmup. It's a really weird situation, but I think that it does classify as a shoot 'em up. But let me know if you have a different opinion in the comments, please. Okay. Moving on to the other half of shooters. This is what I would call like actual shooters, not shoot 'em ups. This is a human being or whatever your main character is running around with a gun, killing enemies either in first person or third person perspective. This is the genre that absolutely, completely, fully encompassed the late 2000s and most of the 2010s. If you were born in the 90s or even the 2000s, chances are you grew up playing Call of Duty on Xbox 360 or PS3. Examples of FPS's 1993's Doom from id Software is a staple. It's definitely iconic. I've never played it, but I'm calling it a staple. It's just one of those games that's like defined the genre, helped define the genre. Um, Same thing with like Wolfenstein. GoldenEye 007, another one I haven't played, but one that must be
God,
mentioned for the history of
you
FPSs.
must play it. You must.
Pretty sure there's a remake coming out.
Well, I think it's been heavily rumored for like
Heavily.
years now, but we'll see.
Halo, obviously, early 2000s, very important. Half-Life from 1998. Valve, obviously, their main game. Metroid Prime, threw that in there just to show that even Nintendo can make an FPS that rocks.
Hey, Splatoon.
That's true. That's a third-person shooter that I probably should have... Oh, no, we're not at third-person yet. I do love me some Splatoon. VR is perfect for FPS games, and there is a ton of FPS on VR. Games like Super Hot from 2016 and Half-Life Alyx, Valve again, 2020. You're literally first person with virtual reality, so it is perfect for that type of game. Examples of third person shooters, Fortnite has to be mentioned here. The reason I think Battle Royale doesn't get its own genre is because a Battle Royale can really be any genre of video game, but with a large number of people trying to survive until the end. I think that's what a Battle Royale is. It's just a game mode. It's not really a genre. And it doesn't have to be people shooting each other. So if you have a differing opinion, or Hannah, if you have a differing opinion, please let us know.
I do not. I think that's great. Because, I mean, Tetris also had a battle royale.
Right.
It's not shooting. And so did Mario. Like classic
Right.
Super Mario Bros. Did. So I agree. It's not its own genre.
Other third-person shooters, Gears of War always comes to mind. There's also the Hitman franchise, which started in 2000. Light gun shooters absolutely fall under the shooter category as well. I would probably like exclude them from FPS, although if you really wanted to be technical, you could probably say they are first-person shooters. Games like Duck Hunt, Terminator arcade games, the Alien arcade games, House of the Dead, Time Crisis, games that we all know and love.
Mm-hmm. Or like the hunting ones, like Big Buck Hunter or
Oh,
whatever.
heck yeah.
You use that freaking orange shotgun. Hell yeah, man.
We got those on every street corner in Texas.
Yeah, yeah, you do. But this one actually comes with boots and a cowboy hat that you're supposed to wear, right?
All right, Hannah. That's it for me for the shooters section. So you are up.
All right. I'm up. Who likes music? I like music.
I
You
like
like
music.
music. So a lot of the music genres I have I think are debatable, but I think I've described them enough where they make sense. But just the definition of just, a music game is a genre of video game where the gameplay is oriented around the player's interactions with a musical score or individual songs. Can often be grouped with puzzle games. So that's another one for you. So we got some subgenres here. So we have the rhythm matching games, which are like your Guitar Hero style games. These games emphasize the rhythm of the song being played by the player. And you're supposed to hit the notes with perfect timing or close enough timing, as you'll get with like DDR. So examples, like I said, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Donkey Konga, Dance Dance Revolution, which is very interesting. But I agree, you are supposed to hit it like at the same time, but it's also like dancing. So I was like, is dancing a genre of sport?
Oh, Lord. There's also exercise, because I follow this dude on Instagram, and he's been losing some serious weight with DDR.
Well, there you go. And then, of course, a newer one, Beat Saber. Love that game. But, yeah, so Dance Dance Revolution obviously is music, right? And you're supposed to hit it to perfect timing, so that makes sense. But, I mean, it could be exercise. I wouldn't say it's exactly for exercise, though. So, in my opinion, I think it fits under this category.
I agree.
Then, the next one up for debate, we have hybrid rhythm games, also known as music reactive games. These kinds of games let the background music kind of guide the player's actions, leaving the rhythm gameplay elements secondary to the main gameplay form. So my example for this one that I thought, and I've actually played and have experience with, is the Crypt of the Necrodancer or Cadence of Hyrule, which is like the Legend of Zelda spinoff. But I looked it up, and these games, according to Wikipedia, are roguelike rhythm.
Oh, Lord.
But if you've ever played those games, it is like an adventure game. I guess they're roguelike. And you kind of move, like you're supposed to move Link or Zelda to the beat of the song. So when the beat hits, you drop, or like you hit the sword and you attack the person on the beat. And obviously music is a big part, but I wouldn't say it's takes more of a part than like the adventure or like the attacking the enemies or stuff. It's just so integrated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
hard
that'd
to
be my example
tell
of that.
like which one would be like the winning genre and which one would be the subgenre there.
Yeah. So I guess that's why it's hybrid. It's just two and they're so intertwined you can't necessarily separate them. So then my next one is music making games. So these are the games where the creation of music takes predominance over the other gameplay. Like the whole thing is just making a song, which I don't necessarily have many examples of that. But in this one, people are given the ability to create their own music from a variety of sounds, instruments, voices, beats, whatever. Usually these games have no goal or objective other than the player creating their own music. So the only example that I could find that was kind of relevant is there's supposedly a music composition tool in Mario Paint.
Yeah, there
I don't know if
is.
you know about that. You're just making music.
I think Wii Music is also like that.
Oh, that's a good one.
I never played that one though.
No, neither have I, but yeah, I think you're probably right. Then another one is music mixing games. Players take pre-made sounds, music, and other audio tracks and interact with them in the game to create new works. I don't know if that necessarily needs to be its own thing, because at the end of the day, aren't you just making music?
That sounds like it should be in the previous one, but I've never played the examples you have listed here.
Yeah, so the examples are Incredibox or Fuser. I don't know. Up for debate there. And then this one, I don't have a lot of experience with either, but it's just music-themed games. So these are music games related to music, where the game may feature narration about the creation of music, but not necessarily feature gameplay related to music. So the example I have is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which I just watched gameplay of it, and he literally just like moonwalks into zombies. And it's kind of like a beat 'em up kind of deal. So I guess it's anything to do with music that takes a backseat to like actual gameplay.
Yeah.
That's like a weird category of its own.
Sounds like it's a platformer or a beat 'em up with music theme.
Right. Like I would also think that when we did the Nintendo 64 video, we did Blues Brothers or something. Would that probably fall into this one too?
I would have to play that game, but a good example is this game Brutal Legend that has like Jack Black as the main character or something, and it's like a total hack and slash, and it's got a ton of like real life classic rock music in it. I think that would classify under this as well.
But I don't know if that deserves like its own genre. Like I feel like if it's a beat 'em up, it goes with the beat 'em ups.
I would 100% agree with that.
If it's a platformer, it goes to the platformer. But I just thought it was worth noting. Yep. Somebody thought it was important somewhere. And that's all I got.
All right. I certainly love me some Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and yeah. Literally, Guitar Hero 3 is probably my most played game in the history of video games. I was so obsessed with that game.
Dude, nuh-uh. 3 was great, but I think 2 was my favorite. And I couldn't tell you why.
I didn't have a PS2.
I have them all on PS2, and I have Aerosmith. I think there's an AC/DC one or something. I got them all, dude. But, I play with the controller, and I'm weird, so.
Yeah. Still counts as a music game, though.
Heck yeah.
All right, we got sports next. As collectors, you look at sports, and you just immediately, disgust, but sports are actual games,
No.
And it's not all Madden,
Collectors maybe, but normal people look at sports and they're like, yeah, sports.
I think normal people also don't care about sports games.
Dude, FIFA sells like crazy.
Well, I guess normal people, we're not normal people, so never mind. You're 100% right. So let's talk about it. It's more than just FIFA and Madden, which is the exciting part. Um, it's the easiest definition of them all. It's any video game that's based on a real world sport. um,
Or fake sports.
I was just thinking that, if there is a fake sport, like, yeah, that's
Rocket League.
I was just thinking Rocket League too. Um, yeah, I guess it's not a racing game, and it's definitely not like a simulator. It's definitely a sports game.
Yep.
It's soccer with cars. All right, so we're gonna change that definition to any video game based on a sport, real or fake.
Hold on. So could you say if it's a real sport, could you also say it's simulation?
So that's in my notes here. Actually, that is
Okay.
a very good thing to bring up. But let's get into it. So origins actually date back to like the 1950s, before actual video games. Back when they had electromechanical machines. In the 1950s. So sports is technically one of the oldest video game genres, if not the oldest. These are, for those of you that don't know, these are like early arcade machines that used a combination of electrical and mechanical components, like before they had TVs inside of them. Examples of these would be KO Champ and Little League from Midway in 1966. But KO Champ is actually from 1955, which is freaking nuts. I'm sure there's like a half of like one in existence still. I don't know.
Cool.
If you don't count electromechanical games as video games, then you would definitely count Pong. Everybody knows freaking Pong. Atari 1972. Yeah. And then you've got Madden, started in the 90s, I believe, maybe late 80s even. I'm thinking 90s though, for sure.
Yeah, 90s for sure.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Boxing. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. We start getting into some actual interesting ones here. SSX, Wii Sports. Motion controls were an unbelievable change for the sports genre for sure. Mario sports games, gotta love them. And WWE, if you are a wrestling fan. And then there's also sports management games, and I think a lot of people probably have no idea that this genre or subgenre exists, but it's basically like you're the head coach, like to make the definition short. Rather than playing as the athletes, you control a head coach, like you're working on the strategy and management of real world sports. Like,
did you just say strategy?
It seems like a really weird thing to make a video game out of, but like Football Manager is a really popular soccer series. I don't know much about it, but you literally are in charge of teams and like the logistics behind the actual sport. It's pretty interesting. And there's also NFL Head Coach from 2006, published by EA. I don't think that one caught on as much.
Well, I know that in Madden games, I know my brother used to be obsessed with it. You're not like the coach, but like, I can't remember exactly, but you like upgrade your player and you like put him on different teams, so he has like an actual NFL career.
Right.
So it's like a NFL manager.
It's like, I think it's called career mode.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that makes sense. It's their career, but my brother used to do that a lot, so I guess that's kind of similar.
Yeah, getting into the personal stuff, I definitely played a lot of Madden myself. Started in like the GameCube era with like Madden 03, and I played a lot of Madden through 2016, and then just like the last like 6-7 years, I really have not played any Madden at all.
Madden 07's the best, and no one can change my mind.
Dude, that's funny. I played the heck out of that game.
Same. That's my favorite.
All the freaking mini games in Madden were so fun. Like not just playing the regular football game, but like the actual training modes were so good.
I agree. That game was hecka fun.
I spent countless hours in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I know you're a Tony Hawk fan as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
I always enjoyed the Mario sports games. Obviously, I've talked about Strikers in the recent past. Yeah. Could have worded that better. There's also
the recent past.
I grew up with Mario Tennis. There's freaking Mario Baseball. All of them pretty fun games for sure. played my fair share. Played my fair share of SSX Tricky. I think you've played some SSX in your life, right?
No, I have
No
not
SSX
actually.
Tricky, huh?
No.
Snowboarding's always a good time. Maybe not always, but sometimes snowboarding can be a fun game. This is probably like the snowboarding game to play. Even today, I don't know how much better they've gotten. It was like the most arcadey, like exaggerated snowboarding game. Um, and then of course Wii Sports Resort, huge part of my teenage years. Love these freaking games.
Yep, I agree. I loved boxing was my absolute favorite Wii Sports game. I actually bought like those cheapy, just stupid Chinese cheap made like boxing gloves, so I could put like the Wii remote in them and the nunchuck in them.
That's hilarious.
And it didn't work, but it couldn't register it, but I looked cool. And then obviously I play a lot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but like the ATV games or like the MTX games, do they fit into sports technically, or do you think they're more racing?
No, I think they're more racing.
Because one of my favorite modes on ATV Off-Road Fury is just kind of like exploration, where you just kind of go out and like do tricks and stuff. So I guess it's kind of sporty, but there are obviously races.
Yeah, I mean they have like the BMX stuff is like in real life it comes on sports TV channels. I think there's an argument to be made that those are sports in a sense. That's a tough one. That's a gray area.
That's true. X Games, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, snowboarding is an Olympic sport. So
There you go.
I don't know. But yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So I also have to I also have to mention, like what you had brought up earlier. There's definitely an argument to be made that sports games are a subgenre of simulation games. You are simulating an actual sport. I guess if you wanted to talk about a fake sport, then you wouldn't be simulating anything. I'm not simulating driving around my Honda Accord playing soccer with it.
Right?
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's its own sport. I think it's its own genre, sports. But I don't have an excellent argument for that.
Yeah, that's a hard one. And same thing, I think I mentioned this earlier, but like, same thing with AT Off-Road Fury. Like, if there's multiple modes in the game and each mode is different, like I said, there's racing for AT Off-Road Fury. There's like just a tricks. There's like time trials. There's stuff that's not even racing at all. It's just kind of like exploration. Where do you categorize those?
It's pretty crazy. It's like you have to give one game multiple genres, and that's crazy.
Yep, agreed. Like, movies are not multiple genres. Songs can be, I guess, if you change it in the middle, you're like, oh, it's going to be like hardcore rock now.
That's
now
true.
It's going to be rap. But games, absolutely not. Ugh. All right, I'm just stalling because I don't want to get into the next one. It is my most... Oh, it's like I have nightmares about this. So the next category is strategy. And I tried my dunditily hardest, okay, to make sure that I knew exactly what is what. And then I just kept watching videos of different examples, and the lines kind of blurred, which is exactly what strategy kind of is, honestly. It's such a broad term. It's like, I don't even know what to talk about that. So I do think it's worth mentioning, or worth, I guess, stating again, the difference between strategy and tactical, just because we're actually talking about strategy this time. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so strategy versus tactical. Here we go. So I have 3 definitions here. 3 for strategy, 3 for tactics, and they kind of all fit in together. So strategy is deciding what to do. So in terms of an all-out war, who do you attack first? Do you just defend? How are you going to win the war, right? And so tactics is how you plan to carry out said plan. So once you decide on a plan, do you attack with all your soldiers, or do you lie in wait for them to come to you? Where do you put your money? Where do you put your defenses? Does that one make sense?
That's part 1.
That is part 1. That is a definition. And then we have part 2, or just a second definition, is the overall campaign plan to reach the goal that you want. And then that's strategy. And then tactics is the actual means used to gain or complete that objective.
I like that
how
one.
You go and micromanage that plan. So then the third one is strategy is winning the war, where tactics is winning the battle.
I really like that one.
Yeah, thank you. That was mine. So in an all-out war, there's multiple battles, right? You know, there's battles. I don't want to use like real world stuff because that's too real right now. But like, if you have a fictional country, you know, the Battle of, I can't even come up with a different country, but
The Alamo.
you know, there's several. Yeah, okay, sure. The Battle of the Alamo, right? If you win that battle, that doesn't necessarily mean you win the war. There's several battles in a war. All right. Is that good?
I think that one
clear
is
so far?
easily to understand, most easiest to understand. I think that's a really good one.
Okay. So, like I said while I was researching this, a lot of people use these two terms interchangeably. So if you see it on a website that it's a strategy game, it could also be a tactical game. It just depends on like what the developers or what they're kind of going for. And that's not to say that most strategy games don't also involve a mix of both strategy and tactics. So it's a very crossover. So we're going to start off with the definition of strategy, the broadest definitions without getting into subgenres. So it's games that emphasize thinking and planning over direct instant action in order to achieve victory, like we talked about. Minigames contain strategic elements, but strategy games specifically focus on high-level strategy, logistics, and resource management. So like I said, a lot of games can have some sort of strategy. Even sports games have strategy, right? Like you said. But doesn't mean it's a strategy game.
Yeah.
So these are split into two subcategories, and under those said subcategories are the subgenres. So there's turn-based strategy and there's real-time strategy. How am I doing?
You're great. I do want to emphasize before you get too deep that we did decide that tactics and strategy are under one umbrella. So yeah, we did decide that, right? Okay.
Yes, we did decide that because they're so intermixed that people can't even really tell them apart anyways. But I'm going to do my best. So one of the biggest genres, I think, in recent years, at least in the last 10 years or so, is called Moba Games, or multiplayer online battle arena games. I personally don't have much experience with these, but I did watch a lot of gameplay to try to understand it, and I know my dorky friends in high school loved these kind of games. So, definition. Players control a single player with a unique set of attributes and abilities. These characters are called something like heroes or champions or whatever. And there's usually a bunch to choose from that all have like their own specific attributes. So ones are like really good at defense, or one's like really good at magic, or any kind of whatever the parameter of the game is. The goal of the game is to destroy the other team's base or camp or just like their side of the field, whatever, employing some kind of strategy while using the abilities of your team's heroes and protecting your own side. So you protect your own side, you try to kill the other person's side. And by winning, you know, you kill the other person's side, all their enemies, all their like AI spawns or whatever, and then you win. So heroes or the champions, or whatever they're called, are assisted by computer-controlled units that periodically spawn in groups and march forward along set paths towards your enemy's bases. So what I've played, or what I've watched gameplay, usually there's like 4 or 5 on a team, and then you get like these special power-ups, and then you can summon like random like little goblins or like whatever the bottom line people are, and they're on your team and they try to destroy the other person's base. But they're not controlled by anybody, that's just AI. It's just kind of like a defensive measure. And there's also some sort of defensive structure like towers or whatever that automatically prevent the enemy from getting close to your base.
Oh, yeah.
So, I watched gameplay of Dota 2. This video was from 2012, so it definitely probably has changed since then, but it had commentary, so I appreciated it a lot more than just watching gameplay. So specifically in this one, there's 2 teams, your team and the enemy's team, and each team is competing to destroy the other team's base or camp. You start off, it seemed like it was just random locations on a set map, so of course there's different maps to choose from. Some are like swampy, and some are like, you know, frozen, some are fiery, whatever, just depends. And I guess depending on what land you're in, some of your enemies, or you could be stronger, just depends on whatever the game's parameters are. And you can communicate with the other players on your team. So usually there's 4 or 5 or whatever, and you can actually like talk. Some are like use chat, but some are like on a preset controls, like go this way, go that way, or like, you know what I'm talking about, like kind of in Fortnite.
I do.
You can communicate that way. And usually your team kind of cooperates and they help devise like a plan or strategy. Like, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, we're going to go, guns blazing, or we're going to defend or whatever. It just depends on whatever strategy you guys want to employ. You fight AI enemies, like I was saying earlier, on your way to attack the enemy's base. And you have to be mindful of other teams' towers that, shoot at you. And they lower your HP. And obviously, if you die, it does respawn, but I think it takes 25 or 30 seconds. Could have changed since then. There's also a set of attacks you can use to kill enemies, and you can build up special attacks. Very much kind of like RPGs. And then, this is the worst part of the game, which is why I had the commentary, is the UI of the game is just hella confusing. There's shit literally everywhere, all over your screen. There's buttons and doodads and maps and whatever, and I was like, oh, bruh, this is way too confusing for me. But yeah, that was my gameplay analysis of Dota 2.
All right.
But I know other ones are like League of Legends. I don't know. There's a bunch out there. Do you know any of any other ones?
Is this where World of Warcraft comes from or falls under?
Nope, that's MMO.
Okay, then no, I don't.
All right, so now we're getting into the different kinds of ones. I feel like noting here we have real-time strategy, which is the genre or the subgenre of strategy, and then under that we have, I don't know, I can't remember if we said it was another subcategory, but we have like the multiplayer online real-time strategy, because we've decided that just because a game is multiplayer doesn't mean it deserves its own genre.
Yeah, sounds like a sub of a sub.
Yep, a sub of a sub of subs. All right, so real-time strategy, let's get into it. Real-time strategy refers to a time-based video game that centers around using resources to build units and defeat an opponent. So you'll begin to see here why they're just so together, intermingled. So players must attempt to build their resources, defend their bases, and launch attacks, while knowing that the opponent is also scrambling to do the exact same things that you are. These games are also called real-time simulation or real-time war games. So could it be a simulation? Yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it has to do with like a real war.
Yeah.
Esque, then sure. You could argue that these all belong under simulation. So players have to think fast and make quick decisions on how to use their resources and time their attacks to defeat their opponents. So examples of this are StarCraft, Warcraft, Command and Conquer, Warhammer, and Age of Empires. So Age of Empires is the game that I have watched, but one, there's like a gajillion types of Age of Empires. And two, for whatever reason, I thought worth noting, these games are like super duper popular on mobile. Like any kind of real-time strategy or anything like that
That's interesting.
So popular.
I feel like
on mobile.
Freaking Clash of Clans might even fall under that.
Yeah. No,
That's funny.
it fits under MMORTS.
Okay.
So yes, it is real-time strategy, but it's MMO. So interesting you brought that up. I have a lot to say about Clash of Clans, but we'll get there. So Age of Empires is the one that I kind of like watched and delved deeper into. So players usually start with a small tribe of people to build their city. Their cities start off small, but as they build up, gain more resources, more money, and more people, they start to build an empire, hence the name Age of Empire. So what's cool about Age of Empire is that you kind of progress through the ages, like as you upgrade your city. So first it'll be like barbarians or like cavemen or whatever. And then you kind of get to like a more civilized thing. And then you get to like knights and like medieval times. And then maybe, as you build it up, you get like in the future and you get like ray guns or like whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you progress throughout the ages. And I specifically watched Age of Empires 2. So they start off with the Dark Ages, and then they advance to Feudal Age, and then Castle Age, and then the Imperial Age. You can upgrade as soon as you have enough resources, so you can go from one age to the next as soon as you have, a certain amount of money or people or whatever the parameters are. Upgrading usually makes your people stronger. Your attacks hit harder, and your defenses are stronger. Your clan, your little units are more durable. And then you can manipulate anything in your city in real time. Your people just have to, it takes like a little bit of time for your people to build it.
Yeah.
Very much like Clash of Clans was.
Mm-hmm.
And while upgrading your stuff, your enemy is doing the exact same thing because they also want to, level up as much as they can, get enough people, get enough money to attack you, and that's how they win the game. They can attack with hordes of enemies or smaller units of enemies or whatever strategy they think would be best to destroy your base. The object of the game is to destroy your units or your opponent's city and protect your own. And then just specifically for Age of Empires, there are 4 common ways to play. There's random map, where players start with a small town, they build up and fight each other. There's deathmatch, where players start with a small town, but with lots of food, wood, gold, and stone. Because the player starts with so much, they can build a huge army very fast, and they're like very big fights, very fast fights. You gotta be really careful about what you do with your resources. There's treaty, where players start with a small town, they build up their economy, and cannot attack for a period of time, because the players have time to build up a huge economy, big fights, and they're long fights. And then there's regicide, which is just in this one, I think. Players start with a small town and a king, and the player must protect his own king and kill the enemy's king. Once a player's king dies, he loses and can no longer play. So it's just variations of like the same thing.
Yeah.
But essentially that's what it is. So it doesn't seem so bad, right?
I've played a little Age of Empires, I think, like 20 years ago, but I have played Halo Wars more recently, and that would also qualify as a real-time strategy game. Yeah, I think these are pretty fun games, and I think you did a great job explaining.
Thank you. I was stressing out about it. So then, like we said, MMORTS, massively multiplayer online real-time strategy games. It's a mouthful. So these are obviously massively multiplayer, so you play with a bunch of people versus just like one-on-one. So it combines real-time strategy with a persistent world. Players often assume the role of a general or a king or sometimes a figurehead, and they lead an army into battle while maintaining the resources needed for such kinds of warfare. These titles are often based in a sci-fi or fantasy universe and are distinguished from single or small-scale multiplayer role-playing games by the number of players and common use of a persistent world, generally hosted by the game's publisher, which continues to evolve even when the player is offline. So an example of this is Clash of Clans, which I have lots of experience with. I think, did you also play this, or no?
I had it on my phone for a few years.
Yeah. So basically, I'm sure everyone knows what Clash of Clans is, but, so you start off with, like, tiny resources, right? You're using, like, a fence, like a wooden fence to protect your whatever, and you have really, like, primitive kind of ways to gather resources, and then as you collect them and as you play and attack other people's bases, you get more resources and you can upgrade your own little town, but the game still continues like while you're not playing it. That's like the persistent world thing, but it tricks you into playing it more though, because you can only collect so much like money or like resources at a time before your thing is like maxed out. So it really wants you to like keep playing, which is, it totally got me. I was invested in this game for like a good 10 years of my life.
10 years? Has it been out for 10 years?
Dude, I was playing this well like into senior year of high school. It feels like I was in it for 10 years.
That's funny.
Yep. So anyway, like I said, these games also do really well on mobile, because it's like you can just whip your phone out for a couple minutes and then put it away. You know?
Yep, it is the perfect mobile, like, strategy. Dare I say that word?
Time waster. Is what we should really be saying. But yeah. So that is real-time strategy. So now we're going to get into real-time tactics. Actually, I need a sip of water first. Hold on. Stall. Okay. Now real-time tactics. RTT. So, broad definition, played in real time, simulating the situations and circumstances of actual warfare and military tactics. So this is kind of like a more realistic kind of deal. It's different from real-time strategy gameplay by the lack of resources and micromanagement in base or building or unit building. This is more of where my units go. You know, how am I going to micromanage this tiny set of people, or this tiny, like, this unit, or this single one person? That's correct. Strategy's big, tactics small. So there's a greater importance of individual units and focus on complex battlefield tactics. focusing on tactical and operational aspects of warfare, such as unit formations or the exploitation of terrain for tactical advantage. That's kind of important here. So, an example of this, the one that I watched, is the Warhammer series. Specifically, I watched Warhammer Shadow of the Horned Rat because that one just seemed the most interesting to me. I only watched about 20 minutes of gameplay, so I'm absolutely positive it gets more, complicated than that, but I felt like that was enough just to get the basic gist of things. So the levels are mission-based. You're given, like, a map, and then each location on the map, like, as you move up or around, is a mission or, like, a single battle. There's a general in the game and, like, his right-hand man that have, like, their own battalion, and you kind of navigate them separately. And there are also different classes of units. There's men, goblins, orcs, stuff like that, and they are all, like, the ground level units that attack the enemy's units. In each level, the map has several terrains, meaning it's not just, like, an empty field. There's, like, rivers, trees, sometimes there's villages and buildings that you have to protect. It's like that's what your mission command is. You control your group of units, like your tiny little, it's not just one, like, person, it's like a group, like a tiny little group. And then you move them around depending on, like, where your enemy is. And actually what's really cool is where you place, like, your enemies, or, like, your little unit, like, changes the enemy's, like, behavior. Like if you put one directly in front of the enemy, obviously the enemy is going to attack there, but if you set them, like, behind trees or, like, in a building, they'll, like, come attack you there. So it really matters where you place your units, which I thought was really cool. Let's see what else. Your troops can get killed or be wounded, and then I think they're out. You can, I think, revive them, but they're out for that battle. And after the mission is beaten, or after you beat the mission by killing the enemy units, you are rewarded with money, in which you can then upgrade your units. So, very similar, but it's more battle, not war.
Yeah.
And then another example is the Close Combat series, but I didn't watch gameplay on that. So then, I guess I'll just jump into real-time strategy, yeah. Oh, no. We already did that one.
Turn-based tactics?
So then, yeah. That is the next one, but I'm going to do one in between that, though, is tower defense, because that one's really easy.
Gotcha.
So have a more simple layout than other strategy games. Usually computer-controlled monsters move towards your base and try to destroy it, but you must build defenses and soldiers to help defend your tower. There can be 3D and they can be 2D. And I used to play one in middle school and high school called Age of War, which is a tower defense game. You get, like, your own little base. And kind of similar to Age of Empire. You kind of, like, progress through the era. So you have, like, cavemen, and then you can upgrade, and your cavemen, are riding out dinosaurs. And then after that, it's, like, Stone Age. So, you get, like, knights with swords and shields. And then you move on past that to, like, I don't know, modern day fighting with tanks. Like, like giant missiles. And then you move past that to, like, futuristic, like, techie, where it's, like, laser weapons and laser swords and stuff like that. So you're going through the ages. But that's more of tower defense. I love that game. Those are my favorite games to play.
If you're in your 20s, you played Bloons Tower Defense, and everybody knows what the heck tower defense is.
Yeah, for sure. But
classic.
Those are super fun and also super easy to explain.
Yeah.
So now we're going into turn-based strategy and turn-based tactics. So what I said earlier applies. Strategy is more winning the war. Tactics is more winning the battle. So an example of these ones are Mario and Rabbids, which we talked about earlier. Is very, you're controlling Mario, you're controlling Peach, you're controlling the rabbit things individually, and you go back and forth. So you can move Mario and the Rabbids a certain amount of spaces, or you can stop and use an item, or you can, pass your turn or whatever. You don't have to move if you don't want to. But you get a turn, then they get a turn. Then you get a turn, and they get a turn. And the enemy, kind of moves based on where you move and what you do. And another example is Advance Wars. So I looked at a lot of Advance War gameplay, and it's very similar to Fire Emblem, in which you move on a grid-like map. But it's a little bit different, and why it's considered strategy is, I think, because you're not using like individual kind of people. You're using like tanks or like groups of soldiers and whatnot. Does that make sense?
I guess that makes sense. I had it under turn-based tactics, but I could see that.
Well, you could argue either way. I don't have giant support for any of these. I could be swayed. And then Civilization is also another one, an example of turn-based strategy. So turn-based tactics is, unlike real-time strategy, real-time tactic games commonly do not feature resource gathering, production, base building, or economic management. So instead focuses on tactical and operational aspects of warfare, such as unit formations or the exploitation of terrain for tactical advantage. Turn-based tactical gameplay is characterized by the expectation of players to complete their tasks using only the combat forces provided to them, and usually by the provision of a realistic representation of military tactics and operations. So just think more like nitty-gritty, like war kind of deals. So example of that is XCOM, Fire Emblem, and Final Fantasy Tactics. So even though Final Fantasy Tactics is a tactical role-playing game, it is still turn-based tactics. So they just kind of like tacked on role-playing and have some like role-playing elements into it.
Yeah.
And then the next one is, we decided to cross this one out, but it Wikipedia said it was its kind of own genre, but I see why it's not really. It's war games, which can have both real-time tactics and real-time strategy in it. It's just something that's more realistic to like historical war games.
Yeah.
So
the reason we crossed it out is we're trying not to focus genre talk on the story, and that's kind of what that goes under.
Yep. No, there are games like Dynasty Warriors or whatever that are actually set, like have a more historical background, but that doesn't necessarily change the genre of the game. It's still real-time tactics or real-time strategy. So that's why we crossed that one out. Okay, I'm done. Did that make sense?
A round of applause for Hannah Montana here. She did it.
Thank you. Whew, I hope that made sense. But you know what? I am so done with strategy and tactics. You can just tell me why I'm wrong down there in the comments, or, message me on Instagram, because I could go either way with a lot of these things. It seems like very similar kinds of deals. And they're so, intermingled that it's hard to pick them apart. And plus, websites and developers would use them interchangeably. I could be convinced either way.
I can't imagine anybody's going to fight you, because I doubt anyone feels strongly that most of the listeners probably didn't know there was a difference. Let's be real.
Okay, good. Well, there is one, I think.
Next we have simulation. All right. So like we've kind of been mentioning throughout this episode, anything could be a simulation. A platforming game could be a simulation if you designed it to be that way. I think a simulation is a game made to simulate real world things or fictional reality. And the best example of this, we're going to skip right to vehicle simulation as a subgenre. Because these have to be broken down into subgenres. But vehicle simulation is the easiest one to understand. Kind of what separates a vehicle simulator from racing, for example. So a simulation of the vehicle variety is... Man, I have used the word so many times in a row there. Anyways, instead of an arcade racer, you're not focused on just flooring it, never worrying about your car breaking. You can fly through the air, slam down without any type of damage. You are going to experience tires popping. There's gas consumption, mechanical problems, all kinds of stuff. And that's the biggest thing with simulators. If you jumped off of a platform in a platformer and broke your leg, and when you made it to the next platform, then that would probably be a simulator. But I think that's why we have to have a separate genre here for simulation games. That should be pretty clear. Quick and easy examples of vehicle simulators: you have Forza Motorsports, you have Microsoft Flight Simulator, and depending on your definition of a vehicle, there is a lawnmower simulator out there.
Nice.
There's also construction and management simulation. Games like, well, let me do the definition first. Build, manage, and expand an environment using limited resources. SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon. Anything with Tycoon in it is definitely under this. Yeah, that one's pretty straightforward. And then there's life simulation. You've got your living or controlling artificial life. You have to take care of this artificial life to keep them alive or happy. Food, water, exercise, give them jobs, work on their relationships with other humans, things like that. A very infamous, I guess would be the right word, game on the Dreamcast, Seaman, from 1999. That game is hilarious, but you are controlling like this human fish thing, and you talk to it through the Dreamcast microphone. It's just a hilarious thing. You should definitely look into it if you haven't.
That's fun.
It's very disturbing. It's very creepy, honestly, but definitely worth mentioning. There's also The Sims. Everybody knows The Sims. There is Nintendogs. There is Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing is kind of hard to put under this category specifically because you don't give them jobs. You're not keeping them alive per se. They're not going to die or run away if you don't feed them. But you are doing things like taking care of the town. I think it is still a life simulation. But I also have other simulation because I don't know where to put things like this. So maybe Animal Crossing would go under the other category.
Other.
I know it seems like a cop-out.
Isn't Hey Pikachu a life simulation too? Do you remember that one?
I do know of its existence. I know you have a microphone, but you'll have to tell me more about it.
Seaman reminded me of it. But basically, you just take care of Pikachu, and you're like, "Hey, Pikachu, sit down," and he like does things depending on what you say in the microphone. That just made me think of that.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, you're not feeding him, keeping him alive. I don't know what you do in that game.
Yeah, good question. I just know you're supposed to speak into the microphone and tell him to do things. Maybe you are keeping him alive. I don't know.
By the sound of your soothing voice.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have other. I know it's a cop-out, but I really don't know where to put something like Power Washing Simulator, which the internet is currently in love with.
Nice.
Goat Simulator, Bee Simulator. Like, I don't know. Do these things go under life simulation? Could be.
Huh. Well, what about the new game that just came out, Stray? I mean, aren't you a cat? Is that kind of simulation?
I don't know enough about it, but could be. I mean, it's probably not like keeping the cat alive. Like, yeah, that's an adventure game, I think. You're going out exploring and doing adventure-y things. I don't fully know what you do in that game, but I don't think it's a simulator.
There's also specifically farming simulation, right? Is that life? Farming life?
Where did I put lawnmower? Oh, I put that under vehicle. Man. Yeah, there's probably another subgenre that is needed here, or maybe farming simulation is its own subgenre. I don't know.
I mean, because like Story of Seasons and what's the other one? Harvest Moon. Aren't those all farming?
And Stardew Valley, yeah, I guess they are.
Stardew Valley. And some of them I know incorporate like RPG elements, but I think some of the main mechanics is just farming.
What we can all agree on is that they are simulators.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got that. We got the real genre right. We got it. We just don't know the subgenre.
A little more difficult.
Yeah. So later on in my party games, I have another conundrum that we'll talk about when we get there, but it has to do with simulation.
I'm so sick of conundrums.
That's all genre is. It's just one giant conundrum.
That's so true. My personal experience with simulation games, I've played SnowRunner more recently. That is a game where it's actually pretty freaking cool. So you're basically trying to drive different trucks through like Alaska, like snow and mountains and like crazy terrain. I think it is Alaska, yeah. and the the objective is to like deliver things or like rescue people. Like one of your trucks is a tow truck, I think, and you have to rescue people because they got stuck in the snow. And so it's a simulator because you're actually shifting the gears. You're actually like making your way through, like you have to get gas. You have to worry about your vehicle getting stuck, and then you lose and you got to restart. It's pretty freaking interesting. I think I like simulators. I haven't played a lot of them, but SnowRunner's pretty cool. Also, Animal
That does sound
Crossing.
really cool.
Definitely played a lot of Animal Crossing in my life, and
Boo.
I think I played a little Roller Coaster Tycoon in my life. I don't remember, but 2 Point Hospital is another one I've been wanting to play, and the upcoming 2 Point Campus as well. But I think like I've really been wanting to play a game like that recently, so I might dive into 2 Point Hospital soon.
I agree. I don't have a lot of experience with simulation games, but like I think they would be fun. Like
It
Animal
seems so
Crossing, it's not my
relaxing.
jam. Yeah, but my friend, she loves Roller Coaster Tycoon. She's like, that's like one of my favorite games of all time. Like I don't really get the roller coaster part, but like other simulation games, I think would be fun. Especially like the VR simulation ones where they're like, what's the surgery one?
Oh,
You know, where they're taking parts out of people. Not that it's realistic, but
on the Wii they have dang it. It'll come to me in a minute, but yeah. Trauma Center
yeah,
games.
yeah. That's with the there. It's by Atlas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that one too. That's a sim. A medical sim.
That's true. That's a really good
Operation
example.
sim? Medical sim, I feel like feels right. Wait, okay, what if we have educational simulation as a subgenre?
You're not
And a
learning.
lot of that can be under there. Well, kind of. You might,
Maybe.
you know where the heart is, you know where the lungs are, if you're taking someone apart.
I suppose you
I
could
don't
be
know.
learning how to run your own theme park by playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, Hannah.
Well, there you go. That makes sense. All right, is it my turn?
Is that everything I wanted to mention for simulation? I think it is, yeah. So yeah.
All right. So next is party. I have a lot of experience with this one and widely debated, I think. We'll get to down there at the bottom. So definition party games generally developed specifically for multiplayer. Usually for the casual audience, you don't have to be like a hardcore gamer. You know, you're not going to be like super good at Fortnite to be able to play them, right? Some of them normally have a variety of mini games, not always. So I'm willing to debate that they don't. And usually they said they're played in social gatherings. Again, with multiplayer, willing to debate that. So common examples I think that everyone thinks of: Mario Party, Crash Bash, and then recently for me is Overcooked, which I think is an excellent party game. So subgenres of this are minigame party games, which, like I said, is like Mario Party or like Wii Party or Nintendo Land, which I love. Basically, have you ever played Nintendo Land or no?
A little bit.
So you play as a Mii. The layout of the game is kind of like a carnival or fair. Like you're on this like floating platform, and then there's like different games around you, and you kind of like build up your city a little bit. There's many mini games. Some can be played single player, but others have to be played with multiplayer. And Wikipedia classifies this as party and adventure. So I guess it just depends on like what mini game you're playing, because there's a Legend of Zelda one where you're playing with 2 people, and it's like an adventure game. Like you're going through each level and kind of, you know, beating the enemy and whatnot. But then there's also like a Donkey Kong one where it's kind of like the original Donkey Kong game where you're like, you know, trying to avoid barrels and like going up the thing, but you're on like a car and you're kind of like avoiding obstacles. I don't know.
I don't remember
I guess
that
it
one.
just depends. You don't remember that one? Oh, that one's really fun. And then there's a Pikmin one, but I can't remember quite what you do with that one. Anyway, and then another example is Shrek Super Party, which I just had to mention again because I love that game so much. Basically, just a bunch of mini games. You compete, you know, to see who, I don't know, gets the most coins or like gets the fastest time or gets, you know, the guessing game all correct. It's just a whole bunch of mini games, and then it's kind of it's either on a board, like Super or like Mario Party is, or Shrek Super Party, which is kind of on a board. It's like a Monopoly board, but like not really. Just a generic board game. Then under that, speaking of board games, we have board game party games, which, again, Mario Party could be classified into, because technically it's a board game, but I'm willing to debate that it's not. But anyway, this is just digitized versions of board games that we have in real life. Like Monopoly is a big one that's been on like every platform everywhere.
Literally.
Since the beginning of time. Life or Clue or any of those other kind of board-esque games. But, yeah. Then, one that I think has recently been popularized by games like Among Us is social deduction games. It's multiplayer, usually one side is good and the other side is bad. It involves finding someone's secret identity or like who the killer is. It's like a classic whodunit story. So like I said, examples are Among Us or Werewolves Within, which I kind of looked up gameplay for. It's a VR game set in like medieval times where the players sit like with their VR headsets in a round circle. And then you kind of just like suss out who's like the hidden werewolf and who's been killing all the townspeople by like asking questions or like accusing people or like whatever. It's just deduction. You're deducing who is, who done it.
Hopefully I don't sound dumb by saying this, but I think Dead by Daylight would classify as this. I know you haven't played it, but that is also a super popular game. I haven't played it either.
I don't know anything about it, but yeah, it could be. So then, like I said earlier, there's simulation party games, which like I said, willing to debate that it's not a thing. Overcooked was technically classified as one of those on Wikipedia, but that just to me just seems like a normal party game.
It said that on Wikipedia. Dude, I think if it's a simulation and it's cooking, you have to actually be putting the salt on the freaking eggs or whatever. Like, you have to be freaking doing the cooking. I don't know. You press A to drop some rice into boiling hot water in Overcooked.
Yeah, exactly. So Overcooked is, yes, you are cooking, but like it's not very detailed. It's like you're throwing rice, like you said, into a pot and then chopping up meat and putting it in a pan and cooking it and serving it. So I don't really think so. I see where they're coming from, but that just to me seems just like a normal old party game. It's one of those games that you can play by yourself, but I don't know if you can. I don't think the first one you can play by yourself. Maybe the second one you can, but it's made for multiplayer in mind.
Yeah, Overcooked's kind of, I mean, I've never played it one player. I don't know why you would, but I think you can literally control both characters with one controller, which sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, God. Nuh-uh, dude. No way.
Don't play Overcooked one player.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then another one that's kind of in the same thing is Moving Out, which is made by Team 17, the same people. It's like, is it really a simulation of you moving out? I don't think so. It's very much a party game. You're tossing furniture out the window and slapping ghosts and, just weird stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a party game. I think Wikipedia is wrong.
What did Wikipedia say about it?
It's another simulation party game.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, could simulation just be everything can be simulation, so I don't understand,
Bro, I throw a couch out of a 2-story window in Moving Out, all right? That's not simulation.
Yeah, I agree. I totally
freaking love that game, too.
It's so fun. There's a button to specifically slap people. And you just slap the crap out of them. It's hilarious. All right, that's all I got. Any of those can be widely debated, but I think party game is, a party game when you see it.
Party game in itself is a conundrum. I think Mario Party is a bunch of mini games that has a bunch of like sub-genre. Like each mini game is a different genre almost. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
It's crazy, honestly. Conundrum City out here.
Maybe if a game just has too many genres, we just shove it into party. Does that make sense? Can that just be the throwaway one? Yeah, it's a party game.
That's where ATX goes, or the ATV versus MX or whatever.
Yep. It's just a party game. I mean, it could be. You know what? I don't know. All right, go ahead.
I'm going to make exercise as fun as possible here. I have some fun trivia here that most of you don't know about. So, definition of an exercise game: any video game that requires real life exercise. Okay, it requires it. It's not optional. Wii Bowling, you might get some exercise out of it, but that is not the intent of Wii Sports. All right.
Aww.
All right, so first example here, Outback Joey, published by Western Technologies in 1993. This is a Sega Genesis game. It is a United States exclusive Sega Genesis game where you ride on an exercise bike to play a 2D platforming like auto runner. Auto runner, just for those of you who might need a refresher, it's like Mario. What is that? Super Mario Run on
Yeah,
iPhone or
Mario
whatever.
Run.
All right,
Yep.
that's an auto runner or temple run where you have to collect 4 pieces of a talisman in each level. Okay. And I guess this is technically an auto-running exercise collectathon game, if you want to get technical.
Oh, no.
The gimmick here is you're wearing a heartbeat monitor, and if your heart rate gets too high or too low, Joey the kangaroo will become exhausted. This reduces his speed and decreases his jump height until your heart rate returns to the correct zone. Pretty intense workout, it sounds like.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Apparently, only 1,000 bikes were produced, and it's estimated only a little over 1,000 cartridges were ever made. So, this is one of the rarest Sega Genesis games ever made. It is just a fun little piece of history here, but it is indeed an exercise game. It actually, like, I think it came... No, you know what? I'm not going to misspeak here. I didn't look it up, so forget it. Anyways, Wii Fit. Everybody knows Wii Fit. Sold over 22 million copies. Every Goodwill has its fair share of 100 Wii Fit boards spread around the country, as you all know.
Yeah, right.
Countless Wii games revolved around exercise, if we're being honest. Many of them used the Wii Fit board. Yeah, I actually did not ever play any Wii Fit. I did play like at a friend's house one time, but I never owned a Wii Fit board.
Yeah, me either.
Cyberbike, yet another rare and expensive video game. This one also came out on the Wii. This one also had a bike that connected to the GameCube port on the Wii. It came out for $200 at launch. That is another game for you bike riding lovers.
$200?
Yeah, but it came with a bike, an exercise bike, so it makes sense.
Well, okay, what does this bike look like? Are we talking like full bike or just like pedals for my feet?
No, it's a full-on bike.
Wow, $200 is a steal. Does it work without the game?
I doubt you could
pedal it?
play it without the game, but I don't know.
Sweet.
Connect and PS Move all had a bunch of exercise games, as you might expect. They were all trying to copy the success of the Wii and its Wii Remote and its Wii Fit.
They failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just kidding, I don't know.
My personal experience, I have really only played Wii Fit once, like I said. More recently, I've actually purchased Ring Fit Adventure. Have been playing that from time to time. I just kind of played it a few weekends ago, actually. It's a very well put together game, and it's definitely a good workout. It does require you to clear out some space in the game room, living room, wherever you're playing it, so that's kind of obnoxious. But it is pretty sweet. That is a very good, like, RPG exercise game.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play it, but I didn't want to drop the $70 or whatever it was for it. But I'm sure it's worth it.
Any personal experience for you?
Like I said, I never had a Wii Fit board. My friend did, but I don't know. I just didn't like it that much. I've probably got more workout playing Wii sports than I did anything else. I mean, that boxing game, I mean, you really got to move, but I understand it's classified as sports.
No, I mean, I get it.
But no, I don't. I've never really done any. I mean, DDR exercise? Maybe. Is that the main point? No. But no, I don't think I've ever had any personal experience with just exercise games.
All right.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
All right. So again, this is one of those ones where I did a lot of research on it, but I think here to debate. So the next one is card game, just genre card games. We decided not to put. Well, we'll figure it out at the end. So definition is just games with the main mechanic is playing with cards, right? Pretty simple. So subgenres are digitized physical card games, so like solitaire or poker or like Uno. And then I have written under poker should casino games be like its own genre? Because not all casino games are card games. You know?
Oh, Lord.
So, like,
You just
Russian
want to
roulette.
start problems. That's what you do.
I mean,
right
not
now.
Russian roulette. Yeah, like roulette games or like, you know, slot machine kind of games. Are those their own games?
I think you're trying to start problems, Hannah.
Conundrums, baby, conundrums.
I think that we should change it to card and casino games.
Okay.
I don't know.
Roger.
Something like that.
Anyway. Okay, anyway. Next subgenre is collectible card games or trading card games. So that's each player has their own deck, but the deck is built like before the match starts. So like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering. There's a gazillion iterations of Yu-Gi-Oh out there, and I'm sure there are for Magic the Gathering and Pokemon right now.
Not really Pokemon. I mean, they only had that one TCG game on the Game Boy.
Well, I mean, isn't there like a bunch of PC ones?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, can't you like redeem like physical cards?
Oh.
Like when I bought my collector's edition pack, it came with like a QR code so I could scan it in.
I think you're right.
I don't know if you can battle or if you just collect cards. I'm not really sure. But Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a gazillion different ones. Yu-Gi-Oh's just all around the board crazy with their games because most of them aren't even like built like traditional building your own deck. I've played frickin' strategy RPG Yu-Gi-Oh games. You can believe that.
There are some crazy ones out there, and I always just want to play the regular old Yu-Gi-Oh on a digital screen.
Yep. There's nothing beats just regular Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay, so then the next one is just deck building games. So like collectible card games where each player has their own deck, but in these games you build the deck like as the game goes. So you collect different cards or like you beat enemies to get this card or whatever. So it's collected as you go through the journey. And then you can play those cards like as you progress through the levels. So specifically, I watched gameplay of Slay the Spire, which I know is a very popular one. And it's considered a roguelike deck building game. So it's kind of a pick your own path kind of game. There's like, oh, you can go right down this path or you can go left on this path. And it kind of like branches out from there. There are encounters on the path that are either enemies where you have to fight them based on like card-based attacks, or which you can like employ some kind of strategy, you know, just like a normal card building game. You know, do you want to attack? Do you want to defend? Do you want to, you know, whatever. Use this item, use this trap card or whatever. And then there's ones where you can, it's just like a choose your own card. Like you get the option between 3 cards and you're like, oh, you can choose this one that has this power, this one that has this power, or this one that has this power. And usually at each thing you have to beat your enemy. And then after you beat the enemy, you get like a special card. So like you're literally building the deck as you go. And like towards the end of the game, you have more cards, you know, you have more mastery over your cards and have like more cards to choose from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not just, there are other things to do than just battling back and forth like in Pokemon. And yeah, that's it. I only got three subgenres there, but I think I covered all of them.
It's just funny how like Yu-Gi-Oh can be under the same category as Uno. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah, but they're cards, man, cards.
Yeah.
Well, so can poker. But that one's just vastly different. But yeah, that's all I got for a card game, but I'm willing to, you know, concede any of these.
We have educational games next, and then we have like a 1 more / 2 more that we'll get into together.
2
sort
for
of.
1.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Also going to make educational pretty fun here. A video game with the intention to teach the player about a certain subject. All right. Education and simulation can go hand in hand a lot because oftentimes you're simulating something in order to be educated on it, which kind of goes back to what you said earlier.
Gotcha.
Perfect example here. Typing games have been big for a long time. You are definitely simulating. I don't know. That one's kind of weird. It's definitely education. It's kind of a simulator, but maybe not a simulator because you're actually doing the typing. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say not simulation.
Okay, forget I said simulation then. Typing of the Dead, classic Sega Dreamcast game from 1999.
Typing of the Dead.
You haven't
Nice.
played it?
No.
I mean, I don't own it or anything, but I played it at the video game history. What is it? The video game museum in Dallas, Texas. It's like
Yep.
it's literally House of the Dead, but you have a keyboard to kill the zombies, and you got to type a word as fast as possible.
That's awesome.
It is
How
awesome.
fun.
Rayman might as well be a professor. He has been in so many freaking educational games, probably more than anyone else.
Really?
He has, most of them didn't come out here, but Rayman taught several languages on PC in Europe. He is multilingual. Rayman Brain Games did come out here. It's basically math and phonics. And if you don't know what phonics is, I looked it up and forgot what it means, but I think it's like sounding out words or spelling or something.
Yeah, it's sounding out exactly how like a word would be.
Okay. Rayman Activity Center helped with spelling, patterns, shapes, and more. And
Oh wow. Hold on. What's the demographic for these games? Like, would I have fun playing them now?
no, absolutely not.
Okay. Just wondering.
I don't know why you have to ask that. Do you need help with patterns?
I might need help with phonics. I mean, damn. What a word.
Automata.
Yeah. Automata.
Amazing learning games with Rayman, yet another one. This one was reading, counting, and spelling, also a PC game. Mario had some educational games in the 90s. Mario Teaches Typing in 92. Mario's Time Machine in 93. I think that one's like trivia and like history teaching and stuff. I guess history and trivia kind of are the same thing. Anyways, Mario is Missing, another one from 1993. I haven't played any of these. I don't own any of them.
I own Mario is Missing, but I've never played it. Also, Mario's Time Machine, if it teaches history, that it's probably going to be some outdated, maybe slightly racist history.
Slightly racist. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's 30 years ago now.
Yep.
McDonald's E-Crew development program. I don't know if I told you about this one. This one's pretty nuts. There was like this whole video that blew up like a year or two ago on YouTube, but this guy found these Japanese, well, let me just give you the history. Japanese Nintendo DS game created to teach Japanese McDonald's employees how to cook their food and perform various restaurant tasks. Nintendo literally published and like produced a DSi with an embossed McDonald's logo on it. As you can imagine, these were not supposed to like leave McDonald's, but I don't know how people ended up leaving with them.
That's awesome. I wonder how greasy that poor thing was.
I know. There's a whole YouTube video about how this guy Nick Robinson bought the cartridge on Yahoo Auctions for $3,000. He literally got the DS later. There was a big debate about how like the ROM needed to be dumped, and it finally got dumped this year. So now everyone can go learn how to make McDonald's food for free online.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, freaking love that story. My personal experience with educational games, I can remember as early as like kindergarten playing some typing video game on PC. Must have been like 01, 02, and yeah, that's about it for me. Except for Big Brain Academy, I really enjoyed that in the DS days.
That was awesome.
That was an
I
excellent
liked
game.
Big Brain Academy, and then what was the other one made by Nintendo?
Brain Age.
Brain Age, yeah. That one was also really fun. I never had a DS, but my friends always did, so we always used to like to compete. You know, because it used to give you like your age depending on how well you did. So it was like to compete to get the youngest age. My other kind of personal experience with educational games is Elmo had a bunch of education games that came out on the Nintendo 64. I think there's like a reading one or like a spelling one, but I played the math one a lot. I loved that game. Like, I'd still play the game. It's so fun.
Well, you know, maybe you would enjoy Rayman Brain Games, Hannah.
They're fun. I mean, I'm not the hugest big fan of Elmo, but I thought the game was like really well thought out. And it's like all about counting. Can you count how many baseballs this is, or like how many chocolate chips are on this cookie or whatever? I don't know. I liked them. I thought they're fun. And the game looked great. Ran great.
I had no idea that you went without a DS for a long time.
I didn't get a DS until I was like 17 years old.
That's very interesting.
I stayed Game Boy Advance SP my whole life.
The Game Girl
Until I
Advance
started
SP.
collecting. Yeah, man, see? That was as far as I went for a very long time.
So did you ever play the Zelda games? Did you ever play freaking Phantom Hourglass and the boat one? Or the train
Spear
one?
Tracks? Yeah, I did, but not on a DS. I played them on my 3DS.
Okay.
I bought a 3DS just so I could play A Link Between Worlds and those 2DS games.
Gotcha.
And then I slowly kind of collected the DS after that. I bought my 3DS actually in Texas.
Oh, very cool.
Believe it or not. Yeah. All right, so this next one is... Me and you have debated this, but I think that they deserve to be in the same kind of... I don't know, blanket, but like they're two different things. Does that make sense?
No. I think... let's tell the audience what we're doing here. We're talking about beat 'em ups and hack and slashes. I think that they are the same genre. Hannah thinks... Go ahead and tell them what you're thinking. I don't want to speak for you.
I think that they're the same, but they're also different at the same time. You know? Yes, the whole main thing... Well, no, that's not true, because there's different kind of hack and slash. They're totally different. So you say what beat 'em ups is, and then I'll say what hack and slash is.
Alright, my definition for beat 'em ups is players are pitted against large waves of enemies. Progress is made by defeating enemies in close combats. Wikipedia says hack and slash can refer to weapon-based beat 'em ups, but I don't think that's true. Golden Axe, Guardian Heroes, Knights of the Round are all like beat 'em ups that use swords and axes and stuff. I would definitely call them beat 'em ups personally. And then I'll let you go.
Okay, so hack and slash, my definition is, refers to a type of gameplay that emphasizes combat with melee-based weapons like swords and blades of any kind. Sometimes these games are also called character action games or slash 'em ups. I've literally never heard anyone call a hack and slash a slash 'em up, but I guess, sure, fine.
My argument that they are the same is that a hack and slash is just a modern day beat 'em up. I think hardware limitations prevented beat 'em ups from breaking into the third dimension truly, and that's really all a hack and slash is. It's just a beat 'em up, killing all the enemies on screen, moving forward, but just in a more modern sense.
Well, see, that might be the base definition of hack and slash, like one subgenre, but there's also other subgenres that I've written here. So that's why I think they're different.
Well, go for it.
Okay, so let's see. It says hack and slash combat style can be implemented into different genres of games. So I'll talk about that a little bit later, where it can be like action adventure, but also kind of have the combat style of hack and slash. So is it really a hack and slash game? I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
So like many early 2D platformers, a lot of them have a hack and slash style combat, but I wouldn't necessarily consider those games hack and slash because to me they'd be more considered platformers. Like when I was playing through Ys, 3 Wanderers of Ys, like I'll basically just, click the one button and hack and slash my way through a dungeon. It wasn't necessarily super thought out kind of combat, you know? Whereas later, they kind of did become that way. So another example of that, like I said, Ys 3 and then Katana Zero. It's a fast-paced 2D platformer with heavy focus on having hack and slash combat style as you progress through the game. There are lots of enemies, but they usually only take a hit or two before they go down, unlike other games like Metroidvania games or like Ys games where you have to hit them multiple times. It's like the enemies there's a lot of them, but they have low life, so it's easy to kill them. It's more the quantity of the enemy that's hard versus the quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there are other games where the gameplay is just a hack and slash combat style, and those are games like the Warrior games. Characteristics of those include massive amounts of enemies in one area that a player literally just frickin' slashes through. That's literally the whole point of the game, which is kill all the enemies in front of you. Kill them all. These enemies, like I said, usually are not hard to kill. It's more about the quantity of the enemies, not the quality of like their HP and the attacks that they hit on you. Examples: Warrior games, both Hyrule games, Hyrule Warrior games, and Persona 5 Strikers. Another kind of game in the hack and slash genre are games like Bayonetta and Drakengard 3, which we talked about both today, actually. So Bayonetta is an action-adventure hack and slash. It's action-adventure because you explore the world and the dungeons around you, but it's not just centered around fighting enemies. Like, there's little exploration, stuff like that. Although it is a big part of the game, it's not just like you do like in the Warriors game. Like, I would not say that Bayonetta and a Warriors game are the exact same thing.
Right, I know what you mean.
So in Bayonetta, like, while you're exploring the world, you come across many enemies at a time, but it's not like hordes of them. It's like maybe 7 or 8, you know, in one little area, and you have to defeat all of them before you can move on. No massive amounts of enemies, but I mean, it's more than just like a Zelda game having like 1 in front of you or like 3 or 4 in front of you. These enemies are harder to take down than just one hit, and they vary in difficulty. So there's like the smaller enemies like the soldiers, and then there's like the bigger enemies, which are like the generals, and then you get to like a boss fight at the end, and then you can move on once you've defeated all of them. Now, here's another thing. If you've played the first Bayonetta game, you know that her primary weapons are 2 guns that attach to her heels, right? That's like her thing. Mm-hmm. A sword is not her main weapon of choice, yet it's still considered a hack and slash. She has several kinds of special moves, where she like slams in the ground, or like her heel comes out of like a portal and like fucking just crushes the person under it.
Yeah.
Through a portal in the sky. So she fights with guns and has special moves, yet it's still considered a hack and slash. Because I guess she kicks. Are her heels considered blades? You know? I mean, she's really just beating the shit out of them. But she doesn't have like a sword. In the first one, I have not played the second one, and obviously I haven't played the third one, so it might have changed. She might have a sword now, I'm not sure. So, my thinking is, now that I think about it, a characteristic of hack and slash might just be like mashing the buttons on a controller. Like, that's how you take down the enemies. You just kind of hit, and then like X, 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 Y, X, 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 Y. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it clicking the buttons in a certain way to make the character perform combos and special attacks? Like, is that what it means by hack and slash?
That is a tough question that I wasn't prepared for.
So, when I play through Hyrule Warriors and Bayonetta, this is absolutely what I did. You know, I was just clicking, like, it says there's, like, special moves. If you click X, like, 5 times, and then Y once, it does, like, this move. Or you click, you know, Y 5 times, and then X once, it does, like, this move. But I absolutely did not do that. I was just freaking clicking buttons and dodging out of the way as fast as I can. So, I don't know. And then, I mentioned this earlier, but Drakengard 3 is part of the Nier kind of series, and it includes a hack and slash style combat, but it's also action RPG. So, like, just the combat portion of it is, like, hack and slash. So, it's like, I'm not sure where to classify it. Hack and slash is something that's so, like, intermingled with other genres. So,
yeah, I mean,
that
it
was
almost,
my breakdown of hack and slash.
It just feels like Bayonetta needs to be, like, an adventure game with hack and slash combat at this point. It's tough. Very tough. Very much gray areas going on here.
Yep.
And I hope that everyone sees that we're trying our best here, because it's definitely not cut and dry.
No, it's not. It is absolutely not. Not in the slightest. But yeah, I think we did pretty good.
Just a few examples of beat 'em ups: Final Fight, Streets of Rage, Guardian Heroes, and of course the TMNT Shredder's Revenge from 2022.
Very nice. Yeah, see, those to me seem like, I know those are like, you know, a beat 'em up when you see one.
Yeah.
I think. But when it comes to slash 'em ups or hack and slash games, it's harder for me to tell, because are you supposed to judge a game like based on the combat? But what happens if a game is not necessarily based around combat, but it has hack and slash elements? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's almost like breaking video games down should almost be separate. Like, there's 3 genres, right? So you have the story genre, you have the the gameplay genre, and then you have the progression genre. It's almost like we're
Oh.
talking about so many different things here at once.
Hey, I like that. Why didn't we think of that earlier?
Yeah. 2 hours ago. Um,
4 hours ago now. Damn.
yeah. Yeah, that I
No,
wish I would have
I
thought
like
of that.
Well, genre in itself, I mean, it's applied to many different things
Yeah.
across many different mediums. I don't know. I think we did a very good job. The best job that we could.
Yep. You can always leave a
I
dislike
applaud you.
on the YouTube video if you really hated it.
Hey, that's true.
Let's talk about some widely accepted genres that we both disagree on. As in, we disagree with Wikipedia, basically.
Yep.
Actually, this one is way more than Wikipedia. Action. You might have heard that we did not mention action in our alphabet of genres here. This, like, I don't know how. This should seem obvious at this point after 2 full episodes worth of listening to us talk about it, but action could be anything from racing to sports to platforming to RPG. Action is such a broad term that there is no way it could have been its own genre.
Yeah.
If anything, no, I'm not even going to go there. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's perfect. Action it's one of those. I would honestly argue that maybe strategy is also one of those just broad things because I feel like it could be in anything, but action for sure. Like, what? Describe action to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Things moving, explosions, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be literally anything.
And why don't you talk about this other one?
Which would be sandbox / open world.
That's the one.
Yeah. So just because something is open world or sandbox, that's not a genre. Like, you can have like open world action games, or I just said action adventure games, or just open world adventure games or open world RPGs. I don't know what that necessarily means. It just means it's open world, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how better to explain that.
If we would have gone with the progression thing, you could probably talk about open world there, but yeah, I don't know. Things have definitely changed, and that kind of goes into the sandbox category as well. Mario 64 was an open world game in 1996. That's not really what open world is these days.
Nope. It means move freely, do whatever you want, any progression order, just it means all sorts of things to different people, honestly.
Things that we would say... Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead. So these are things that we've decided are not a genre. I mean, just not even on their own. They're just not genres. So the first one is indie. Like, what does that mean? That can literally mean anything.
That is dumb.
Be a platformer, action platformer, RPG, you know. It could be an educational game, an indie educational game. Indie doesn't mean anything. It just means that it was not developed by AAA studios.
And we'll use that term.
In general.
We'll say indie games now and in the future, but we're not talking about the genre of the game, I promise you.
Yeah. We're talking about who made it. And it's knowing that a AAA company, someone like Nintendo, and an indie game, they're going to have different size games. They're going to have different looking games. You know, indies are generally smaller, don't have a lot of money, whereas Nintendo games, you can tell that they put millions and millions of dollars into this, you know?
I'm willing
nothing to do with genre.
Honestly, a couple of years ago, I probably would have what is that word? Assimilated, maybe? I would have lumped indie and Metroidvania into the same thing, probably, because there were so many Metroidvanias that were indie games coming out. But yeah, if somebody was like, oh yeah, have you played this new game Shovel Knight? It's an indie game. I'd be like, cool, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, what? Agreed. And then another one kind of fits into another one that we have, but sci-fi or Western. Again, that is like a movie genre thing that can be, you know, nothing to do, it's got stuff to do with like the setting, not the gameplay.
Right.
So you say something's a sci-fi game, I get it's science fiction, but like, what does that mean? What am I actually going to be doing? You know?
Yeah.
Am I going to be flying spaceships? Am I going to be jumping from platform to platform in space? You gotta let me know. Same thing with Western. And then you can take the next one.
Arcade is a tough one. I think arcade is like, you think of getting a high score a lot with arcade games. And that is definitely like something that should be mentioned when discussing genres, I guess. Because the point of the game, there's a big difference when you're trying to beat a game and when you're just trying to get a high score. And there are definitely arcade games that can be beaten. I mean, of course there is, but I don't know. Arcade is a location and it is a thing that you play games on, but it's not a genre.
I think it's fun to, or at least it's nice to note that when like arcade games came out of like the 80s, right? The 80s and the 90s. When people were developing these games, they didn't necessarily have a genre in mind. Like I'm sure the guy who made Pong was not like, hell yeah, this is his own genre. Nah, dog, it's just like two paddles back and forth, right? You know what I'm saying? Or like Pac-Man. They just wanted to create a fun like little game, and they didn't care about the genre. They didn't even, I don't know. Do you think they cared about the genre? I don't. I think they just want to make a fun, entertaining game that could make them money.
No, I don't think no, that's probably not true. I don't think they cared about genre.
Now, modern games definitely care about genre when it comes to arcade games, but I think less so. When I think arcade, I think of like Pac-Man or like Space Invaders or Pong or like anything like that. But I know there's like more modern arcade games out there. I just don't know them.
Yeah, and you could also throw shooters in there, which just complicates it further if you were calling arcade a genre.
Yep. And then the next one is retro. Again, what does that mean? Probably pixelation of some sort, yeah, because graphics weren't as good then, but what does that mean? Am I going to be playing a Mario game? Am I going to be playing Frogger?
Yeah, so you're either describing Actually, you're probably describing the graphics at that point when you talk about that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You could say Shovel Knight is retro-inspired because of its pixelated art, but yeah, definitely not a gameplay genre.
Okay, so the next one that we've kind of named throughout the entire thing is multiplayer. I don't know what that means. I obviously know what that means, but doesn't know exactly what I'm going to be playing. Like something like Fortnite or like a party game like Overcooked. Definitely multiplayer, but definitely vastly different. Again, it's just kind of focusing on not even the game, I mean kind of the gameplay, but like how many people are playing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. It is a gameplay thing. It's not a genre though. It's a feature,
Yeah, I like feature. That's good. How it's enjoyed, And another one is VR. That one's kind of, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that. Yes, it's gameplay wise because you have a headset on and you're looking through like a lens, but it has nothing to do with how you're going to play the game. It's just how it's played, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that I see what you're saying. It's kind of like if I were to talk about this is kind of a stretch, but like typing game or like guitar game, like that's not a genre because you're using a different peripheral. A VR is a peripheral, I think, that you put on your skull, and yeah, so that's a good example, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Or like motion controls. It's a motion control game. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's another peripheral. And then I think we kind of already covered this one, but any kind of movie genre like comedy or romance, that means that has to do with the story. That means nothing to do with the gameplay. A game can be funny, it can be a comedy, but it can also be like a platformer or like an RPG, like a turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
Or like romance. that would just be funny. Yeah, I want the latest romance game. I mean, maybe that is a genre or a subgenre of something. Like, I know there's a lot of like point and click like dating sims, but maybe that's a sim. Oh Lord.
Sounds like a sim to me.
Yeah, a sim. I know there's dating sims, which is another sim thing we forgot to talk about. or like graphic novel kind of simulation point and click deals. That could be romance based around romance, but I wouldn't say that's the main gameplay.
No.
It's just the genre of the story.
Setting and story genre, yeah.
All right, you can take the next ones.
So yeah, Metroid. Okay, so things that are not a genre on their own. Metroidvania was discussed last episode. I'm 99% sure I said it was an adventure game. So go check that out for sure. Horror is a tough one. Okay, so at the end of the day, horror cannot be a gameplay genre because it has to do with being scared. It has to do with the setting 100%. There are a lot of things that I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last episode actually, so I won't go too into it, but horror, like there's a lot of things that go into a typical horror game, like limited ammo and survival. Sometimes you don't have any guns. You just kind of have to like hide, and that's like a stealthy thing, but most of the time like you can't even say that across all horror games. You know, there are some games like certain Resident Evil games, you have plenty of ammo, you have a gun at all times, and some are completely different. So it's a setting thing, and I think you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, definitely. Like even the horror games that I've played, which are Among the Sleep, I think, or something, or like isn't there another one? I can't remember. Oh, Little Nightmares. Isn't that technically like a horror-esque game? Or
Yeah,
like
it definitely
suspense?
is.
But yeah, it's vastly different than something like Resident Evil where you're like, shooting freaky zombie monster things.
I think most of them would have to be like a stealth subgenre under adventure, but not all of them.
Yeah, so there we are. Conundrum.
We've talked about battle royales already. I think roguelike is going to have to be taken by you. I don't think I can take that one.
Roguelike to me just seems like the one that I gave an example of is Dead Cells. I think we talked about this last episode. But the roguelike is just like you die and you start back at the beginning. Like it can be a platformer, it can be an action adventure. I feel like anything can be roguelike where you die and you reset back to zero. It's got to be something else. Like Slay the Spire was another roguelike game, I think. No, maybe not. One of the other ones I said was roguelike, but I can't remember now.
Anyway, I think you said it was a roguelike card game.
Yeah, so where you die, you start back at the zero, but it's so much different. It's a card game. It's a deck building game versus like a platformer, like Dead Cells.
Cool.
It's got to be it's a subgenre of whatever the main genre is.
All right, so we got a little game action here. We're going to ask each other a few games what we think the game's genre is. And so we'll just start with like this first one here as an example, but digital pinball, for example. Hannah, what the heck genre does digital pinball games classify under?
Well, I think it might be simulation.
Yeah, I was thinking about it during the episode, and I think it is simulation. So
because you're simulating like an actual real
absolutely
like pinball machine. So I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, either that or hack and slash. I don't know.
It could be. Well, you know what? Are those little paddles considered blades? Because I think so. You know what? I like that one. That was a good answer. Hack and slash. That's my final answer.
Do you want to alternate with these? I have like 6.
I only have one more. Because we kind of mentioned them like throughout. Like I was like, well, what's AT Off-Road Fury? Or like some of those. But my other one, what's Frogger? The classic 1981 arcade game. And every iteration after that, Frogger.
What the genre is Frogger? Let me see. I'm looking.
Because I can tell you what Wikipedia says. And I think we're going to disagree.
Let me try to answer it without getting influenced by that.
Yeah.
It's not a platformer.
I mean, could it be a platformer, though?
Well, you know what? You are jumping to platforms for like half of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right, I'll keep that one as a maybe. It's not an RPG. Could be an adventure game.
Could be an adventure game.
It's not really racing, even though you're on a limited time. Fighting, puzzle. Oh, puzzle is an option. but I'm more leaning towards a different one. Shooters, music, sports, strategy, simulation, frog simulator,
It could be.
party, exercise, card game, educational, or beat 'em up hack and slash. Out of all of these, you're not exploring anything. It's not an adventure game. It's either puzzle or platformer, and I'm really not leaning toward platformer. If anything, I gotta go with puzzle.
I kind of like the platform idea because, yeah, you are kind of doing the platforms for some of it, but do you want me to tell you what Wikipedia says?
You know what? I gotta go with platformer, I think. Puzzle, it's not really... It's not a puzzle game. All right, go ahead.
It's more strategy game than puzzle game.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, no, Wikipedia describes it as just an action game. It's just action.
Well, you know how we feel about that one.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know if I agree. I mean, it's not action, but it's got to be action something else. Unless that is just the action game.
That's hilarious. All right, I got a few here. Hopefully I can boggle your mind here. What is Astral Chain?
That is... it's adventure. It's action adventure, I think, in my mind.
It's kind of a hack and slash, but
also has hack and slash combat. I would agree.
I am almost questioning hack and slash and beat 'em up as a genre, honestly. But
oh no,
it's too late for that. I think you're right. I think action adventure is a good one, and it has RPG elements, which doesn't make it an RPG. But yeah, I'd go with action adventure.
The only thing that makes me shy away from the hack and slash combat, though, is it does have, like, hack and slash to me just implies, like button mashing. But this one, you have, your person, and then you have, I can't remember what they're called, astrals or whatever, and they're literally connected by a chain. So you have to, like, wrap that chain around, or, like, you can do special moves with the chain. So it's not just, like, slashing. You also have to use, like, the analog stick to kind of, like, wrap your enemy up. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember that part?
Yeah,
so,
I got
kind of hack and slashy, but not all of them.
Super Monkey Ball.
Right. I don't... party game? No, because it's single player, isn't it? Can you play multiplayer?
There's multiplayer modes, yeah. But let's just talk about the main story.
Yeah, the only time I've ever played it is multiplayer. So in that one, I guess it'd be party. But I don't know. Well, what was like what's Sonic considered?
Sonic is a platformer.
Yeah, but isn't like 3D Sonic, doesn't he kind of like roll around on a 3D plane? Isn't that Super Monkey Ball?
Hang on, bro. Let me paint a picture for you. Super Monkey Ball is basically a tabletop or like, like a place like, oh my gosh, like let me paint a picture here. So you have a tabletop in your right hand, right? You have like a literal tabletop. Don't think video games for a minute. And you put a marble on it and you move that marble around.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Doesn't Sonic have a 3D version, sort of something like that?
I'm gonna go with no.
I've played 3D Sonic games, man. Secret Rings? Hell yeah. Awesome game. I don't know. Why? What would you consider it?
I'm gonna go with puzzle. I feel pretty good about puzzle for Super Monkey Ball.
Well, it's kind of similar to... Remember we were doing the Kirby podcast, which you should go definitely check out. But like the Kirby... It was a Super Nintendo game where it's kind of like golf.
Avalanche?
Or like hitting the ball. Yeah, it could be like that. Where it's like a 3D plane and you're kind of like hitting the ball around like you're a golf ball or whatever. Yeah. It's similar to that, but I don't remember what genre that one was. Simulation sport.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Puzzle probably sounds good.
It's got to be puzzle or platformer at the best, I think. But yeah, I guess if you haven't really seen it or played it too much, I'm sure it makes it harder for you.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with that one, besides the multiplayer stuff.
All right, this one, have you ever seen or played Katamari?
Yes.
All right, tell me.
I played it on the Switch.
Oh, sweet.
You play as a humanoid thing, and then you try to roll up a bunch of stuff, and the bigger you get, the bigger stuff you can roll. God, I don't know. What is that? It's not a platform. I guess it could be a platform. Certainly not an RPG. It could be adventure. I mean, you're kind of adventuring through different lands and picking up different things. Not racing, it's not fighting. Puzzle, maybe? Because isn't the point of the game to, like, pick up certain objects? Like, oh, you need 6 batteries, or you need, like, 7 keyboards, or, like... You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay,
Don't you
so
get,
there's
like, kind
multiple...
of objectives?
I think we've played the same Katamari. I think there's bonuses for picking up certain items, but the main gameplay is to make your ball the size of, like, X amount of meters or whatever. Like, you want to make the trash ball as large as you can by picking up literally anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I just gotta say adventure. It's like action. We're just gonna slap it on everything. Adventure.
It is kind of adventurous because you are exploring a world.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I got nothing. it's a very unique game.
It's gotta be adventure for me, man. It's gotta be. There's nothing else it could be. It's certainly not a beat 'em up or a fighting game.
For anyone who has not played Katamari, I played it like a year ago. It is a lot of fun, and I would recommend it.
I agree.
Yeah, that's gonna be our best answer. Other than that, I got Mario Paint. You did mention the music stuff, but what about like actual painting with a mouse and a freaking just a mouse? What do you call that?
I almost want to say simulation.
Yeah, I kind of agree. If anything, what the heck would it be?
If anything, it's just like digital art. You know, it's not necessarily simulating like paintbrush on paper, but like digital, like Adobe Illustrator art or like Microsoft Paint art, you know, like doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, digital art simulation.
I don't think it's educational. I do think it is simulation.
Yep, it's gotta be.
And the last one is very Frogger-esque, I would call it. Dig Dug. What the heck is Dig Dug?
Oh, Dig Dug. I know exactly what this game is, obviously. That used to be one of my favorite. It's a Midway game, right?
Namco.
Oh, Namco. Okay, so same difference, but they have like the compilations on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
That used to be one of my favorite games on there. I don't know. That one's, well, I mean, maybe it's simulating, you know, digging things, like digging into the ground.
Bro, get the heck out of here.
It's gotta be adventure. Or action. Maybe it's just another just plain action, like Frogger was. Or adventure.
Wait,
not really.
What did we agree on?
The ground.
What did we agree on for Frogger? Oh, you said like
adventure.
Platformer? Adventure.
I think we. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not feeling good about Frogger, and I'm not feeling good about Dig Dug because I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's a dirt beat 'em up. Like I don't understand what the heck Dig Dug is.
It's a hack and slash. It's a below ground. It's a subterranean hack and slash.
Like I bet if you really think about it, it's probably a puzzle game. You have to kind of maneuver your way around the dirt and try not to get killed by rocks or obviously the enemies, and you have to. It's very puzzly.
I agree. So Frogger also must be puzzle then. Puzzle adventure. Hack and slash simulation. I don't know. See, this is one of those things where like the arcade games didn't necessarily have anything to do with genre. They just wanted to make a fun game.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't worried about it. They were trying to make a fun game with whatever limited technology they had at the time. You know? I don't know. God, that's hard. You know what? Maybe arcade should be its own genre. It's just an arcade game.
I think there are a lot of arcade games that are probably very difficult to pinpoint. And I think that is a very good visual for those of you at home to like see that this is not an easy task. But we did our freaking best. and I'm happy with the
I agree.
podcasts.
I am proud of us. We talked about it for 5 hours now. Probably total. Wow. Yeah, definitely. If you think that we're wrong or you think that we hit it really well, definitely let us know, because that would be awesome. I need a little self-esteem boost after this one.
Let's go through some listener responses. I don't even know if we still have them because they were over a month ago.
All right. So I asked the question on my Instagram story, what is your favorite genre and why? So chunkymonkey.exe says action/adventure, The Legend of Zelda, in parentheses, because I like action-packed games and adventure.
There you have it.
We have Mr. Longname. He says first-person shooters because pew pew. And that made me laugh. And then we have Plot Racer 071 says, I've always been partial to action games, including platformers. Well, I'm sorry to say that action games don't exist.
Plot Racer, I really was expecting racing to be his favorite.
Yeah, you know what? That was really misleading, wasn't it? So we have It's Angela _C_ says adventure because I love the narrative and sense of discovery. I agree.
Perfect.
I also like a good story. Let's see. We have Natorius7 says JRPG. It's the perfect combination of anime and video games. Would also agree. Lots of JRPG fans in here, but actually, most of them are JRPG or RPG. We also have Hyrule Traveler, who likes RPG/JRPG. We have Dave _Brizzy, who likes Metroidvania. That was the only one that said Metroidvania.
That's a shocker.
We have Laszlo Games, who says Tactic RPG. I love moving units around and gearing up. You are alone, because that's not my favorite thing. We have Dan _Evil Robot, our BFF. He says, my favorite is platformers, any kind, 2D and 3D. I don't know why, ? I just love a good challenge in games. And we have Manga _Garbage says, anything that lets me collect things. So they like collectathons.
There you go.
Yep.
Nice
That's
variety.
pretty much all that I got there. But yeah, a lot of them said RPG and JRPG. Like over half. So, heck man.
That makes sense with the this type of stuff that you're into.
That makes me happy. I'm so glad. Not a lot of first-person shooters, though, which is nice. No, like Fortnite or, what's the other one? PUBG or whatever.
That you never posted a Call of Duty game on your page, so that makes sense.
You know what? That's true. I've curated the perfect audience. I appreciate it. So yeah, thanks for the responses. Every time we do an episode, I try to post at least one question on my Instagram story first, so definitely look out for that.
And on the Discord, which we also have a response here. You said, what is your favorite genre of video game and why? But you also said, extra credit question, what genre do you think is the hardest? So V Capone, my man Vinny, said, for me, my favorites are platformers, racing, and puzzle games. All are basic and pick up and play without much thought. He said the hardest for me would be RPGs and fighting games, which I'd probably have to agree with. I do like them as games and concepts, but they're not easy to get into and take so long to understand and master.
I 1,000% agree. I would say personally, the hardest game for me would be fighters.
You have to really put in some effort and time in fighting games.
Yeah. They're not difficult to pick up because you can just mash buttons and be okay at it, but that they're really hard to master.
Similar to what were we talking about earlier? Freaking Shmups.
Yep.
But, there's no button combos in Shmups, like freaking up, down, left, right, X, X, Y, B.
That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, that is our show.
Heck yeah, we did a good one. Pat yourself on the back. That was a hard one. That was probably the hardest one I've ever had to do. Lots of research, lots of notes, lots of conundrums and
Conundrum City.
And what is genre?
I hope it cleared it up for some of you, and I hope that you guys learned something. we obviously really appreciate you guys listening to us talk about video games for like 2 to 3 hours every single month. If you have any feedback for us, please don't be afraid to reach out to us anywhere. Hannah, where can the people find you?
Game Girl Advance SP on Instagram.
Send your hate mail to Game Girl Advance SP on Instagram and send all of your
my
nice
address
things.
is.
Send all of your nice comments to Bird Dog Gaming on Instagram, Twitter, literally everywhere. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in August for episode 30. That's a big one.
Woohoo! That is a big one.
Actually, hang on. I'm not going to lie. I got some stuff coming up in my life. We might not be able to record in August, but we might be able to. So we shall see. Hannah's going to Alaska, and I have stuff going on as well. So you might not see us until September, but maybe August. We will see. We will see.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll check you next episode.
Later, guys.
See ya.